Hey, shh. Calm down. The show is about to start. Reese on the radio. Turn it up. Turn it up low. Turn it up loud.
It's like a dream come true.
Turn on your radio. Reese is on the radio.
Yo, let's get it.
Due to the nature of this program, discretion does not exist. It's Reese on the radio. Right now on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Yeah! What's up? Come on, everybody, get hype! What's going on, all you scallywags, nutmeggers, conversationalists, and my favorite faves, the haters? It's Reese on the radio on WTIC News Talk 1080. We got Gordon Chang joining the program at 3 o'clock, a little more than an hour, a little less than an hour from now. We'll talk to him about everything China and how China plays a huge role in what's going on in Iran. We'll get to that. Those of you who know. Those of you who don't will learn. Gordon Chang, I'm a big fan of his. When I was given the opportunity to talk to him today, someone sent me a message and said, hey, what do you think of Gordon Chang? Would you like him on your show? I was like, are you kidding me? Reason why I know everything about China is because of Gordon Chang. Foremost expert on the region. So I'm really, really happy. I wish I could have had him sitting right across from here, right here in the studio. But he had to go back to New Jersey. He's on a book tour. He's been on one for a while. Book came out in September of last year, but he's out there working that book. You got to do it. So we'll get him on the phone. Hopefully I'll get to meet with him and talk with him when he's back in Connecticut. We're only, a state or two away if you really think about it. So I'm really, really excited about getting the opportunity to meet him and to talk to him today. So he'll be on the program at 3 o'clock. At 4 o'clock, we will have Democrat gubernatorial candidate Josh Elliot sitting across from me right there. And we'll ask him about some homophobia happening within the Democrat Party. Got to ask him. And, of course, a bunch of other things. How his campaign's doing, whether or not he really expects to gain any ground against the incumbent, that whole stuff. We'll get to all of it. Of course, he'll probably, as everybody else in Connecticut, have something to say about the war in Iran, as they're calling it. We'll talk about that as well. But I got to say something, folks. Yesterday, as my pastor sat across from me, I had to say some relatively cruel things about my ideological rivals, Democrats, liberals, leftists. And I used the word stupid a lot. I don't take it back. Don't get me wrong. I'm just laying out to you the truth. Stupid is what they are. But you know what's really offensive? What's really offensive is they think that you are stupid too. And this one, I got to call out the news media on this one. WFSB. I got to start with them. Because I need you all to indulge me a little bit. Hear me out. I'm going to play a news report. And for the sake of making my point, I'm going to have to repeat the piece at least 3 times for you to get my point. I don't want you to miss it. On the radio, you can be listening and passing, and you might miss it. My homies know. They are at home, and they are sitting there listening intently. Those are my drivers, my roadies. They're in the truck. They're in the car. They're doing their deliveries, so they're listening intently. They won't miss it. But those of you who are listening and passing, I have to play it 3 times for you. So this is from WFSB. Yesterday, there was a ribbon cutting that involved Representative John Larson, Senator Richard Blumenthal, and Senator Christopher Murphy, or as I like to refer to him, Christoph Murphy. And that report went like this. Now, again, I'm prefacing. I have to play it 3 times for you. First, just so you can hear it, it went, oh, my bad, sorry. It went just like this.
We head to Hartford now, where a new federal courthouse is one step closer to construction. The new U.S. District Courthouse will be on Allen Street. It will eventually replace the capital city's current federal courthouse. This comes after lawmakers negotiate a project labor agreement for $395 million. By working with a local union, people living in Connecticut will have the chance to work on the massive project, which will put money back into the state's economy. Crews are expected to break ground on this in the summer of 2027.
Now, listening to that report, you are probably saying to yourself, okay, Reese, what's the big deal? There is a big deal here, folks. Now, let me explain to you while I play it the second time why it's important. You will notice that the reporter never mentions the name of the federal building. She never mentions the name of the federal building that will be, let's just say, moved out of. The name is important. Listen again. See if you hear it. Or, in this case, you don't hear it.
We head to Hartford now, where a new federal courthouse is one step closer to construction. The new U.S. District Courthouse will be on Allen Street. It will eventually replace the capital city's current federal courthouse. This comes after lawmakers negotiate a project labor agreement for $395 million. By working with a local union, people living in Connecticut will have the chance to work on the massive project, which will put money back into the state's economy. Crews are expected to break ground on this in the summer of 2027.
Did you miss it? She never mentions that it is the Rubakoff Federal Building. That is the building she's talking about. Because if you're watching the video, you can see that it is the Albert Rubakoff Federal Building. Ladies and gentlemen, anyone here knows what that building houses? Anyone? Who? What is it? Is it where ICE operates? Yes. Yes, it is. And again, these lawmakers, Larson, Blumenthal, and Murphy, are seen standing around cutting ribbons for a new federal facility that will house, or if not transfer, from 300 to 500 illegals a month. In essence, they are bragging about a $345 million project for a new ICE facility. Third time, it's a charm. Here it is again.
We head to Hartford now, where a new federal courthouse is one step closer to construction. The new U.S. District Courthouse will be on Allen Street. It will eventually replace the capital city's current federal courthouse. This comes after lawmakers negotiate a project labor agreement for $395 million. By working with a local union, people living in Connecticut will have the chance to work on the massive project, which will put money back into the state's economy. Crews are expected to break ground on this in the summer of 2027.
Yesterday, Representative Larson with Blumenthal and Murphy announced the shiny new landmark deal, a mandatory project labor agreement locking in union-only jobs for the $345 million federal courthouse going up on Allen Street. It is going to help out the outdated Rubakoff Federal Building court functions. The $281,000 square feet with 11 courtrooms, secure sally ports, dedicated elevators, and holding cells specifically engineered to handle 300 to 500 ICE detainees every single month. John Larson, who cut the ribbon on this deal, you might remember, was shouting this on the news.
This is not Germany. That's the SS and the Gestapo. This is the United States of America. Unmask yourself.
So, while making national headlines for calling ICE agents the Gestapo, John Larson is now doing ribbon cutting and promoting a new ICE facility? Are we too stupid to recognize the doublespeak here? The fact that the three men who very well are voting against any more DHS funding, who each want Kristi Noem to be fired if not impeached, who say that they're going after family members, our community, our neighbors. Chris Murphy, remember when he told us, you're less likely to be attacked by a person who came into the country than natural-born citizens. Shows up at a ribbon cutting for a new building that's going to house more illegals for prosecution? Are we supposed to have missed that? Well, that's why I said about the news media, why would you miss that important point? There were people outside that building a little more than a month ago screaming, F ICE and get the ICE out. And now the same representatives, remember we had Matt Lesser who went there to go see people exercising their civil rights to go out there and fight against ICE agents that are, again, acting like Nazis. You had Mayor Arunin in full investigation mode talking about a hit and run that never happened. I understand he's at the event, too, celebrating the $345 million going into the new ICE facility. Now, I know you're probably saying to yourself, you lefties, you're going, Reese, what are you complaining about? What am I complaining about? Why aren't you complaining? Isn't this hypocritical? They're celebrating $345 million worth of union money to build another facility on Allen Street to house the same people that these folks would usually set free. The ones that they have been running around screaming they don't want ICE in their state, but they're helping them build the new building. We're talking about 11 courtrooms. They're talking about secure sally ports, dedicated elevators, and holding cells, specifically engineered, by the way, specifically engineered to house 350 to 500 ICE detainees every single month. Nobody seems to think that's odd. No one seems to think, or at least waking up to make people go, you mean to tell me these guys are just performing? That they don't truly stand by this whole ICE out campaign? And again, the news media, not even mentioning that the old federal courthouse is the one that they're replacing it with something new. I mean, if you ask the folks who were there, they wanted that building condemned. If you ask the protesters in and around Connecticut, you would think they want that building used for something greater, like public housing or housing the homeless. But here they are, three of the most prominent legislators in the country, if not just the state. John Larson's a national figure. Chris Murphy, national figure. Richard Blumenthal, national figure. Here these guys are shaking hands. Blah, 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 blah. Great job. Blah, 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 blah. Selling the idea that this $345 million is doing the most good. And not one person thought. I mean, again, I find it fascinating because I looked everywhere. Wait a minute. Not anyone noticed that this was backwards? Not anyone thought, well, wait a minute. It's Larson, right? He was leading the charge on this New Deal. He was. These three men have done everything they can to demonize cops, to demonize ICE. These guys are responsible, if not, if I remember correctly, joining in with Indivisible and every other Soros outfit, showing up at their rallies, screaming about ICE agents, stopping the funding of DHS. Right now, didn't they just recently have Kristi Noem in a Senate hearing admonishing her? Even Republican Tom Tillis was talking about how disgraceful Kristi Noem has been. What's all of this for? If behind everybody's back, or let's say boldly, because it really wasn't behind anybody's back, it was right in your face. The news media just kind of helped them cover it up by not calling it what it is, by referring to it as the old federal building, not thinking anybody would put two and two together. Now do you understand why I played it? That's the reason why I played it 3 times. Because I wanted you to make sure that you knew that no one was going to say that this was an ICE facility where the protests took place a couple of weeks ago. The place was the center of controversy a couple of weeks ago. Every newspaper or media outlet was covering the Albert Ribicoff building when the protest took place. Everybody was covering the story when Mayor of Hartford said that there was a hit-and-run incident. They all covered it. But then when they find $345 million to buy a new facility or to build a new facility, everybody just calls it the federal building. So that you could think, oh, it's just any one of the buildings in and around Hartford. It could have been any place. Because they didn't want you to recognize the hypocrisy. They didn't want you to recognize how silly they look. As I tell you folks all the time, pay attention to everything that they say, and especially pay attention to everything they don't say. And in this case, they're not saying a lot.
We head to Hartford now, where a new federal courthouse is one step closer to construction. The new U.S. District Courthouse will be on Allen Street. It will eventually replace the capital city's current federal courthouse. This comes after lawmakers negotiate a project labor agreement for $395 million. By working with a local union, people living in Connecticut will have the chance to work on the massive project, which will put money back into the state's economy.
And let's not forget what makes this so crazy is that they're promoting average citizens to take part in building the new facility. That all 3 of these men tell you on a daily basis are against ICE facilities in their state. Now they want you to ignore all of that and help them build a new one. Right? What about all the protesters? What about all of their constituents who they stand with at protest across the country, if not across the state, who they scream and holler at that ICE is this Gestapo? From 1 minute of get ICE out to help us build new ICE facilities.
This is not Germany. That's the SS and the Gestapo. This is the United States of America. Unmask yourself.
Yes, unmask yourself so you can build the new facility. I can't believe no one caught this. We'll be back. More news, more views when we return. It's Reese on the radio.
Fan of WTIC? Then do us a favor. Download the free Odyssey app and favorite WTIC.
As I said, if you're just joining us, author, and I'd like to call him probably geopolitical genius when it comes to China, Gordon Chang is going to be here on the program in a little less than a half an hour. We'll have him on the program for a little bit. We'll talk to him about there was an article in the New York Post that I want to ask him about. I hope you got a chance to read it. That sort of breaks down how, I guess in the author's opinion, that Donald Trump, in attacking Iran, is truly choking off China and Russia, which many people have already known. A lot of people have sort of missed that nuance in the news cycle, or people, the pundits, as it were. They sort of miss all of that. But it is a very key point in all of this. And, the breakdown of the article pretty much goes like this. And I want to explain it to you, for those of you who don't, who won't take my word for it or listen to the show on the left. It's like, wow, Reese, what do you know? Trust me. I'm not spewing this like some, novice. I've paid very close attention to this entire ordeal, especially as it relates to Iran and the Muslim world, but definitely how it relates to China and Russia. So you have sanctions on Iran. Iran has got to survive. And it has oil. But it can't sell that oil to anywhere else in the world. You can't say death to America and then sell it oil. Not in any meaningful way. You can't say death to Israel and sell it to them either. You can't. You probably could. It's not like the UK can't go rogue. It's not like France can't go rogue and, buy a couple 100,000 gallons from them. But that's kind of what the sanctions are for. Presidents come in and put sanctions on Iran, barring any other Western country from taking any oil from them. And that way you destroy their economy. It's the core of most economies. But China and Russia, they don't have to care what the United States does as far as sanctions on Iran. Yeah, with U.S. sanction, it means nothing to us. I'm Russia. I'm China. I'm going to buy the oil anyway. And the beauty of it is that China and Russia have negotiation power over Iran. No one else is buying the oil from you. What's the going rate? $60? You know what? Since you're not making any money, I'll buy it for $30. Because it's cheap. And Iran is like, whatever, listen, we have people to bomb, scores to settle. Sure, buy our oil. That's the whole thing. What, how many, you have $5? We'll take $5. We have scores to settle. We're funding all the terrorism across the country, across the world. $6. We'll take $6. We have a plan. So, of course, China is like, hey, we'll make them our primary source. Nobody's going to touch them because we're in bed with them. Russia's in bed with them. And they give that sort of, that let's just say, aura of unity. Remember BRICS? That was a big deal a couple of years ago. Remember, no one could stop talking about it on this program. BRICS, 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 BRICS. Now what happened? BRICS have fallen. Right? Russia, China, Iran. Donald Trump comes in and starts bombing the place, and China's just, sending really strong worded letters. Yeah, man, that's messed up what you did to Iran. You want some? I never said all that. Russia can't say anything. Russia's getting his butt handed to him by Ukraine. I mean, shouldn't that war have been over already with the might that Russia, I'm putting my fingers up in quotations, with all the Russian might, they're a superpower. They're getting beaten up by literally, it's a David and Goliath story. And Ukraine was just handing them a couple of missiles, sure enough. I mean, they're running out of fighters. Russia still can't sustain it. Sure, they've made some grounds, but Ukraine is still standing on its own. So what does Russia do? They send out a strongly worded letter about Iran. But what do you think that's about? What do you think that's about? You're cutting off our cheap oil. The thing that we need to fund all of this nonsense. Russia's got to be able to, they've got to be able to secure at least some semblance of an economy. And buying cheap oil from Iran was perfect for them. Same thing with China. Donald Trump has cut that off. but it's so much more than that. And we'll talk to Gordon Chang about that as well. It sounds crazy, but and I know, I'll say this because I know that it seems mean-spirited, but it's true. Everyone who is opposed to the actions in Iran is short-sighted on purpose. They were short-sighted on Venezuela, as they are short-sighted on Iran. Why? It's simple. With the exception, well, you know what? I'll add Greenland, just for the sake of argument. All of this is a pattern. Donald Trump goes after the Panama Canal. The Democrats and the pundits go nuts. What? The Panama Canal? What's that about? Then they find out China has taken it over. Oh, China in Panama? What? Donald Trump goes after Mexico for fentanyl crossing the southern border. Yeah, that's not that much. What's the big deal? Who's supplying them with the fentanyl? China? Oh. Starting to put together. Venezuela. We raid Venezuela, get out Nicolas Maduro. News reports, little smatterings of it. They find out who was in Venezuela at the time that they pick up Nicolas Maduro and his wife. China? What were they doing there? That's odd. And now Iran. And then all of a sudden it's China again. They are never going to talk about those things. They will put them here and there just to say, sure, we reported on it. One little byline. Incidentally, China operatives are here. Incidentally, Chinese military weapons were here. Just a little byline. Yes, we reported on it. They all know if there was an if there was any objectivity in any one of these places, they would see that all of this is strategic, line by line by line. You cripple them. We could, by the way, it has never been a secret. We could have always taken out Iran. It's never been a secret at all. We could have always done it. But for 47 years, people talked about it. They yammered on and on about it. But everybody knew that we could. And they also forget another thing. This is the other part that I don't seem to understand. While everyone is arguing, as Jessica Tarloff did on the 5 yesterday, she was saying that this wasn't the United States. They were following Bibi Netanyahu. That's who Trump was fighting. His best friend in the Middle East. Bibi Netanyahu wanted this war and Trump went along. Like all of a sudden now Trump's the follower. Okay, yeah. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Right? But guess what? Everybody's missing the nuance. Israel is supposed to be the most hated country in the Muslim region. Aren't they? For decades. They had to be fearful of Arab nations surrounding them in the region. In fact, it's a part of every argument. We have to help Israel because they're surrounded by people who want to wipe them off the face of the earth. We sit here today with the one thing that everybody's paying no attention to, not a bit. Who's helping Israel other than the United States in the war effort? Who has joined in? Arab countries? You mean to tell me Arabs and Israelis have taken up a fight against Iran? And for those of us who are old enough to know, what universe, what multiverse would you have seen that happen even in the Reagan era? It would have been unheard of. In the Clinton era, the Herbert Walker Bush era, the W. Bush era, you'd have never seen it But yet you're seeing it today. I said to you yesterday, there's a video of a crowd of people in Washington, D.C., Israeli flag, Iran flag, and the United States. Name a multiverse. Name a universal timeline where you ever saw that happening. But here we are. And you're going to expect the rest of us to look at that and go, yeah, I want it the other way. I liked it better when the Ayatollah was oppressing 90 million people. And Muslims in the Muslim world could not stand Israel. And every day they had to protect themselves with the Iron Dome. And Tel Aviv and Haifa and Jerusalem had to be bombed every day. I'd rather go back to that. Please try to convince me. Trace, but just try. Just try. I'm here. I dare any one of you. We have an opportunity to do something, not just historic, but just like universe changing. Could never be done. Ask anyone before Friday. No one believed it. Now, there's hope. No one even had that before Friday. Let's take a break. We'll be back. It's Reese on the radio.
It's Reese on the radio on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
All right, make sure you join us. We will be back in a little bit, and at the top of the hour, we will have Gordon Chang here to talk about his new book. Came out in September, and of course, all of the events as they take place in Iran. We'll see if we can get him to play a little Kreskin with us and see what he believes may be the turnaround on this war, on this military action in Iran. There's a whole bunch of people talking about, like, how long is this going to be? Is this going to be a forever war again? And I know a lot of it, people don't believe that it's going to be a forever war. This is an opportunity to frighten people into that. It's like, oh, you're going to start a war. It's going to be forever. And then when it's over, it's over. Remember, folks, we were at war with Venezuela. Remember that? Remember that? Weren't we? That's what everybody said. You just go to every one of the usual suspects, the people that you know, go back to their pages back when Venezuela happened and watch them as they wrote, we're at war. I thought he didn't like going to war. We're not at war. Right? It should be going on right now. Venezuela, troops on the ground. We should see a military theater. CNN should be out there. We're live. No, nothing. We were in a war. Why would you trust these people? I never do. I spoke to my ex-wife today. It was the first thing she said to me. She goes, tell me what am I supposed to think about this Iran thing? I'm not kidding you, folks. I get this all the time. People, I don't say it to brag, but I appreciate it. She was like, okay, you got to tell me about this Iran thing. I'm like, no, we're good. She's like, what do you think is going on? Explain to her what's going on. She was like, okay, then I won't worry. I was like, what, are you waiting on me to tell you whether or not to worry? She goes, you're the only person I trust in this thing. I don't want to be some guru, if you will. The people that I trust and the people that I talk to, I don't drop names. I told you that. I knew the president was going to war last weekend, and we had Rob in here, Rob Vidaro, when he was sitting here as we were closing out his interview. I said to him as he was walking out, he goes, what do you think's going to happen? I was like, we're going to war on Saturday. He was like, you think? I was like, yeah, trust me, it's happening tomorrow. He'll tell you. Vidaro listens to the show. He'll tell you. It's exactly what I told him. I said, yeah, it's happening on Saturday. Sure enough, so I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I was watching the president's speech. I said, yeah, I knew. So there's nothing to flip out about. It's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. Do you want? I'll put it this way, and I think this is the best way for you to understand it. Okay. With the exception of Iran's nuclear capability that you heard about for years, a decade or so now, what do you know about Iran's military capability? That's a simple question. And you don't have to be fake because you're not saying it in front of me. You're just thinking about it. Other than its nuclear capability, it's enriched uranium. Militarily, what do you think of Iran? superpower? Do you think that they have a military, now, the arsenal ballistic missiles notwithstanding, incredible amount. But that is exhaustible. At this point, with this campaign, it'll take a couple of weeks and they're all out. As soon as we find out where all the strategic positions are, what are we going to do? Just going to take those out, and then what? Will there be some ground troops? Very well could be. Will there be American casualties? Very well could be. But think about it. Have you ever once thought but Iran? Ask yourself. And we know China has not put any boots on the ground. And we know that Russia has not, because they've got their hands full. So the question remains, what do you think when it comes to Iran and the United States if there are boots on the ground? You think we're overwhelmed? Seriously? And then ask yourself, what's your concern? Like long term. I would be stunned if this took a year. But again, don't take my word for it. We have the expert here. He's actually on the line. We're going to get to him after the top of the hour. Gordon Chang joins us, and later on we got Josh Elliot, gubernatorial candidate for the Democrat side, joining us at 4 o'clock. So we'll have Gordon Chang, and we'll ask him all the important questions. We'll also talk about his book and a whole bunch of other things. We'll see if we can fit it all in, right, as we get to it. So stand by for that. And, Lori says in the chat room, she says, USA wins. Absolutely. Without a doubt. Says, no one asked when Barry was bombing and using drones on civilians, and no concern with the loss of U.S. ambassador in Benghazi. That's right. Remember, what difference does it make at this point? We hadn't lost the U.S. ambassador in 28 years before Benghazi. Those 13 hours, as the film so brilliantly illustrates. By the way, one of my favorite movies. I didn't think I'd like that movie as much as I did. I love that movie. You have to think about it. Oh, gosh, top of the hour. Here's Dave Mager. He's in the WTIC newsroom. We'll be back.
Reese on the radio, making sense of the news. Yeah, even when it makes no sense at all. Now on WTIC, News Talk 1080.
All right, we are back, and with no further ado, let's get to the man of this hour, Mr. Gordon Chang. Let me first say to you, sir, that I'm a huge fan of you. I have been watching you on cable news for the better part of 10, maybe 15 years. And I wouldn't know a thing about China geopolitically without your tutelage. So I am very honored for you to be on this show. Sir? Is he not there? Okay, maybe he... Oh, there he is. There he is. I was worried about that. Did you hear any of what I just said?
I did, and I am just so honored to be on your show, and thank you so much for those kind words.
No problem. Absolutely no problem. You, listen, when I say I wish I had way more time with you, because I want to ask you so many questions about China, things that just interest me about China. That, I've long talked about here on the program and abroad and things like that. But of course, I want to get into the most important issue today is, of course, these actions, this theater in Iran. And as you have pointed out everywhere of how important this is into putting a chokehold on China. Do you see it the way that I do, that this is so 3D chess on the part of Trump that in attacking Iran does sort of three things, has a three-pronged sort of approach? It stops Iran, and it stops its nuclear proliferation and its attack on the Western world, at the same time putting a chokehold on Russia and China?
Yeah, that's absolutely what's going on. Xi Jinping, who reveres Mao Zedong, I think has been taking a couple pages out of his Heroes Peasant Movement playbook. And one of them is called Encircling the Cities from the Countryside. Mao in 1949 prevailed over Chiang Kai-shek's nationalists by doing exactly that, by strangling the cities. Xi Jinping has been doing that to the United States for a better part of a decade.
Yeah.
And now I think President Trump has said, look, I've had enough of that. I'm going to do the same thing to the Chinese that the Chinese are doing to us. So you see Trump go after Venezuela, after Cuba, now Iran. Those are important Chinese.
Let's not forget the Panama Canal, because people thought that was pointless, but Panama Canal was another one.
That I was just about to say that. You took the words right out of my mouth, Reese. So, this is, and removing China from those two ports at both ends of the canal zone. And we're not done yet with Panama, because there's a lot of other Chinese projects in the canal zone and throughout the country. But the point is, Trump is going after China in these really important choke points. And the Chinese, I think, are apoplectic because they can't really do anything about what Trump is saying and doing. They talk big, but when it comes to it, Trump is determined and he gets what he wants. And this is really good news for the United States.
I couldn't agree more. Why do you think that there are so many people who are missing? This isn't nuance. This is really the strategy, right? It's because, as I was saying earlier before you got on the line, it was, China and Russia have used Iran not as a superpower, but a place to get cheap oil to fund everything that they're doing anywhere across the globe, right? So it's not like, people always talked about BRICS. But in the grand scheme of things, when it came to BRICS, China and Russia were the big dogs here. Everyone else was sort of kind of like the lapdogs to those two superpowers because they were utilized for things like enrichment of minerals, oil, and anything of the sorts. In essence, they really had no power outside of Russia and China.
Yeah, and Iran could not have afforded to attack Israel on October 7th, 2023, without across-the-board Chinese support.
Exactly.
There were, of course, the commodity purchases. China takes about 90% of Iran's exports of crude, depending on the year. Last year it was 87.2%, according to one calculation. But it's a lot, between 80 and 90%. But there's diplomatic support, propaganda support, weapons support. Iran wouldn't have a nuclear weapons program without Chinese support. That's a Chinese program that has been transplanted to Iran through Pakistan's nuclear proliferation ring. This is really important stuff. So here we got to understand it's not Iran that we're worried about. It's China supporting Iran and making Iran really, really dangerous.
Exactly. I mean, because in essence, they know that Iran's ambition is to blow up the world. So imagine you're China, in essence, kind of holding Iran on a leash, which is saying that, they give them an opportunity to bite here, to bite there. But China, in essence, sort of having that stronghold over Iran, if you eliminate the mullahs, you eliminate the Ayatollah, they no longer become that animal, so to speak, that China or Russia can control. Like once they're out of the game, once Iran is out of the game, you sort of keep China and Russia at bay to some degree, but a large degree, if any.
That's a really perceptive comment you made. I mean, the Chinese look at, for instance, North Korea as the crazed dog in the cage. Well, they're doing the same thing with regard to Iran. So Iran disrupts the world. And by the way, Mao Zedong also had a policy of creating chaos to disrupt the world, which is what Xi Jinping has been doing also through Iran. So this is really, when you look at it, this is a Chinese proxy, and this is Beijing acting, and you're absolutely right. That's what's at stake right now, and people don't get it. So thank you very much for raising that.
No problem. Hey, listen, like I said a long time ago, Gordon Chang, remember the first time I was ever introduced to you, seeing you on cable news, and you just had this insight that I thought was fascinating. You sort of gave me a window into China, and every time you were on, if I heard you were going to be on TV, I immediately found that place to watch you. I was, in a weird way, I was obsessed with you. But I just, you gave me a window into something I knew less about. But every time I listened to you, I learned more and more and more. That's why I'm always fascinated when you're on. You were on Maria Bartiromo just recently. I was just telling my wife, I was pointing at the TV. I was like, he's going to be on my show today. So I kind of fanboy on you. I'll be honest with you. Big fan of yours.
Well, thank you. One of the things that's important right now, because you raised this, is just what do we know about China?
Yeah.
And because Xi Jinping has been closing the country off, and especially this has been clear since COVID, but even before then, we know less and less about China. I know less and less about China. I'm speculating more than I have in the past.
Really?
And it's uncomfortable. But right now, that's all we can do because Xi Jinping is determined that we know less about the Chinese country, the Chinese state, and the state of the Chinese people.
Right. Well, the only time we really know about them is when they act outside of their own realm in areas like Venezuela, in areas like Iran. When we start to see them get a foothold in the West, that's when we pay attention or they show their hand. And in many ways, geopolitically, the United States has ignored how they have infiltrated places on the West. I mean, especially the way in which it's infiltrated Africa. People have forgotten about or don't even pay much attention to the foothold that they've gotten in Africa in I guess in cobalt mining, in so many other, in the labor field. I mean, they're using money in order to take over regions when they can't pay them back. People don't even pay attention to that stuff.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right about that. I mean, throughout the entire continent, both above and below the Sahara, China has been very active in infiltrating countries. And, in North Africa, for instance, they've been fueling these insurgencies that now look like wars. So that's China's foreign policy of disrupting the world. And because of that, we got tossed out of Niger, our military base, our influence. And that was because the Chinese have been fueling the insurgency there, as they have elsewhere throughout North Africa.
So you have a new book out, came out in September. It's called Plan Red. Talk to me a little bit about, I mean, I know your books are usually about China, but tell me about this book that is different from the other books you've written.
Yeah, I talked about how China is assaulting the United States. In May 2019, People's Daily, which is the most authoritative publication in China, carried a landmark editorial that declared a people's war on us. People's war is a phrase that's important in Communist Party thought, and it means total war. And we are not paying attention because, for instance, on January 31, Las Vegas SWAT and federal agents found and raided that home in Las Vegas, which looks like a biological weapons storehouse.
That's correct.
For the Chinese, because they seized more than 1,000 vials of a substance or substances that were making people deathly ill. That's according to the housekeeper who called it on to the authorities. And this is a facility that was owned by somebody who is going to go on trial next month on federal charges for running a biological weapons lab in Reedley, California, which had at least 20 pathogens, some for deadly diseases like Ebola, and almost 1,000 mice that have been genetically engineered to spread disease. So, Reese, this is like a biological weapons facility on American soil. That means they're planning a mass casualty event.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you a political question that may sound partisan, but this is important to the argument. I think it is. Many people may say it was like, oh, you always want to break it down to left or right. This is important. Tell me if this is true. Based upon where we're finding these biolabs, and I remember there was a report by James O'Keefe that covered one of the ones in Nevada, in fact, and another one actually it was in California. I apologize. It was a couple of years ago in California. Is it my understanding or your understanding that these biolabs are showing up in places that are usually pretty lenient as far as immigration or these kind of activities? In other words, are they going to California because California is relatively hands-off when it comes to what people do in that state?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to it.
Okay.
You're obviously right. I mean, California has been very lenient, under Governor Newsom. So that could very well be the case.
Right. No, but the reason why I ask that is because, I look at this as far as even areas of fraud. Right, you're always going to go to the community where the state or the state government tends to look away when it comes to certain things. I mean, I look at Connecticut and I go, I talked to Justin Elliker in New Haven when I said, do we know who the illegals are in our state? And he goes, well, we don't ask, we don't tell. Well, imagine what that will breed if somebody knows that Justin Elliker in New Haven doesn't ask and doesn't tell about my immigration status, where I come from, or what I've done in my, in my previous life, in my previous country. If I have nefarious ideas on this land, I can do it in New Haven because they don't ask and they don't tell.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point, because you're not going to go to Alabama, or you're not going to go to Florida, or you're not going to go to large parts of Texas, because there the authorities are going to enforce the law. And thank God that they will, because we know there are a lot of dangerous elements in our country, Iranians, Russians, and Chinese primarily.
Yeah, I've seen that so often, and I think the first time I ever thought about it was I learned about, we all learned about this massive fraud happening in Minnesota, and it was like I found it odd. Sometimes these places always happen in areas that are of large populace and where they are, for lack of a better word, incredibly liberal about, either the welfare state or immigration or about sanctuary. Those are places where terrorists, if you will, go to, probably exact some sort of vengeance on the United States. Because, I always say, like, where do you expect most gun violence to happen? In a gun-free zone, right? So they know no one's got a gun, so it's the perfect place to act out some form of violence.
Yeah, that's a really important point, because, you go to cities like Chicago with tough gun laws, and you have criminals have guns, citizens don't, and the criminals know that. So you have more deaths. You don't have that in places like Mississippi, for instance.
Yeah. Well, Gordon, tell me, you're on a book tour as of yet? I know you were here in Connecticut, and I know you're back in New Jersey. Are you doing a book tour for this book still?
No, I was in Connecticut to talk to the Conservative Women's Forum, and that was last Thursday.
Okay, because I understand it was a book signing there, so I wasn't sure if you're still on tour.
Well, I signed some books, but I was there to give a talk about the things we're just discussing right now, because, we didn't know that President Trump was going to hit Iran on Saturday, but I was talking about these agents and these operatives who are in our country, because you got a lot of Iranians who actually they were trying to assassinate President Trump. Right. They were trying to assassinate Mike Pompeo after he left office. This was really bad stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely. Let me ask you a question just to play a little Kreskin, if you will, on this military action in Iran. Do you predict anything longer than the president's talking about, 4 to 5 weeks? Or do you see it shorter? Do you see it longer? Do you think that this will be an extended campaign? I just got word that Saudi Arabia has decided to join in the fight because Iran has crossed the line with its attacks on their homeland. What do you see? 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 months? What do you predict, if anything?
That's I don't know, but I would say shorter. And the reason is they're going to run out of targets. And the issue is going to be, once they stop the bombing, whether the regime elements who are still in place decide to come to the table and talk in a constructive way. We know that the regime did not talk constructively in the run-up to the attack. I mean, they were boasting about how much enriched uranium they had. Yeah. And this was just sort of in your face.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Trump administration was forced to start to hit them. So
yeah, I wonder if they thought that when they bragged. When I heard that they bragged about how much enriched uranium they had, sort of thumbing their nose at the face of Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. I thought that was saying, it was like, did they not know who they were dealing with? But I guess they kind of had a long history of people doing nothing. So
they had the history of Biden and Obama actually releasing money to them. And Biden was even worse, because on September 11th, 2023, that deal between Washington and Tehran, Biden gave clemency to 5 Iranian operatives. But I can understand that because we got some people back.
Sure.
But the point is, Biden allowed 3 of those operatives to remain in America at a time when the Iranians were actually trying to assassinate Americans.
Yeah.
I don't understand that at all.
Yeah, it's at one point you kind of ask yourself, how crazy are they? But then I go, this is kind of par for the course if you think about it. I just know better. I don't expect these people to have their wits amongst them. So I sort of look at it as, par for the course. Gordon Chang, thank you so much for being a part of the show. If you are ever in Connecticut, please tell your folks that I would love to have you in, just talk to you, just pick your brain. I have so many questions about China that I can't get to today, especially, I'll just give you a hint. George Lucas said something interesting about American films in China. And he talked about a film that he had done. Do you remember that film that George Lucas did called Red Tails?
I know the name, but
it was about the Tuskegee Airmen.
Right.
And he talked about how he couldn't get financing in the United States for that movie. He couldn't get a major production company to distribute that movie because most movies are distributed into China after, that's where they make most of their money.
Right.
George Lucas famously said on The Daily Show that the producers or the distributors would not distribute the film because they couldn't distribute it in China because the lead actors in the film were all African American.
Yeah. That's the way the Chinese think.
Yeah, no, I know. That's why I said I want to pick your brain about that so much. It's a story I've been really trying to sort of. I need to sort of have a back and forth with you when you're in town and when we really get a chance to talk. But thank you so much for spending time with me today.
Oh, well, thank you, Reese. I really appreciate it, and stay safe.
I will do my best to do that. I've got a wife to take care of, and plus all of my money to spend on her. Thank you, Gordon.
Thanks a lot.
You have a wonderful one. Thanks, sir. Gordon Chang, ladies and gentlemen, right here live on a Reese. I'm not going to lie. That was one of my favorite interviews. Nothing against the rest of you. He's kind of like my hero. He is. He just kind of is my hero. And watching him on TV and then knowing that I'm just going to say I'm the luckiest man in the world. Luckiest man in the world. Thank you guys for indulging me in that interview. Now, do you know who he is, Roland? No. I said to Roland and Janine today, I was like, hey, we got Gordon Chang on the program today. They were like, who? I felt like a total nerd. I was like, Roland says, dude, that's your world, man. That's just your world. Well, anyway, I thank him. Let's take a break. We'll be back. More news, more views. Josh Elliot is coming up in about a half an hour. He'll be sitting right there in the studio. We'll talk to him about his campaign for governor against Ned Lamont. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Listen to WTIC News Talk 1080 on the free Odyssey app. Download and like WTIC today for alerts on special programming.
All right, we are back. Reese on the radio. By the way, if you are looking to log on to ReeseOnRadio.com and you're having a problem, just put in HTTPS:// the usual thing before your computer, and then type in ReeseOnRadio.com. If you can't do that, just go to the Facebook page. You know where it is. And just click on that top piece right there. You'll see it, and the link is there. Usually, I think if you go on Google, if you use the Chrome, what's the name? You should have no problem going into it. But Rick Walker, a good friend of mine in North Carolina, he was trying to go into the site, and it came up with this 404 page. And it was freaking me out. And then Roseanne checked it. Then I checked it. And I was like, no, it seems to be working. So I think on some computers you may have to put in HTTPS:/ and then ReeseOnRadio.com, the usual website. You can't just type in ReeseOnRadio.com and go to it. But on the site, of course, there's everything there if you wish to follow us. You want to follow me on Facebook, you can. X, you can. Instagram, you can, even though I'm rarely ever there. Most of the stuff I do on Facebook ends up on Instagram. TikTok, I'm barely there. But if you want to, and TikTok's your thing, sure, fine. But also, most important, my Substack page. And I want to say this. I don't do the provocative headline for the sake of provocative headline. I'm not a shock jock. Used to be, but not a shock jock anymore. Can you imagine, Roland? I've been doing this, I want to say 6 months now. Maybe, a little more than that. I've been writing one article a week. The article that got the most attention was the headline, I want to live where the white people are. Well, instead, of course. But only because they agreed with it. It's just saying the obvious out loud. Right? People, you can't be upset about it because it's true. The whole purpose, the whole reason why you do what you do in your life, the reason why you struggle, you do the long hours, you do the overtime, you lose sleep, you cut back, you save, you eat ramen, all of those things. You buy the cheapest gas, you don't do the holidays, you don't vacation. You do all of that because you're trying to build something, because guess what? You, on the weekend, have driven by a nice neighborhood. And you drove by the nice neighborhood, say with your girlfriend, who looks out the window and says these famous words, "That's a beautiful house." It is the words that will do two things to a man: inspire him or dump her. No, I'm kidding. But for me, it inspires me every day. Roseanne and I drive through all over Connecticut. We drive through Connecticut all the time, every place we can go, sometimes by accident. We go into a nice subdivision where beautiful houses are everywhere. And I've got to slow down so that Roseanne can look at a Craftsman, a Victorian, plain old, I don't know, rancher. But if it's beautiful, she will tell me, slow down. Look over here. That house is beautiful. Can we live there? I wouldn't mind living here. Oh, it's the same thing over and over again. And when I hear it, there used to be a time that used to frustrate the hell out of me. No, honey, we cannot live here. No, we have to be in this town. It's close to the work. No, honey, that house is $1.5 million. But I will tell you, and I'm going to tell you something that a lot of people won't admit. And I'm going to humble myself just by revealing it. You guys know how much I love Roseanne. I don't have to tell you. Sometimes it's boring just saying it. I know you're inundated with it when I tell you. But I need to sort of share this secret with you, because I think it's liberating that I can do it. Roseanne and I will be driving wherever, lunch, to the mall, store, whatever. And she will see this house, and especially here in Connecticut, and it will be on a hill. And the lawn is manicured, and it's just beautiful. You look at it and you just go, wow. And Roseanne will look at that house and she'll go, I wish that was my house. Couldn't we live there? Wouldn't you want a house like that? Now, I have got to be a grump. I got to be a Grinch. No, honey, we can't live there. For whatever reason I could think of at the time. Honey, this is an hour away from Farmington. I'm not driving an hour to live in this house. My whole life would be commuting. But you know what I think to myself every time? I say, man, I wish I could buy that house for her. I wish I could. I wish I could win the lottery tomorrow, just so I can give her that house, just to see the look on her face, just to know that she would be the happiest, most elated person in the world. If I can walk in one day with that deed and just say, hey, remember that house you saw? And just watch her lose it, watch her cry, blubber, the whole thing. I do. I can't. I could not stop myself when she does it. Every time. I'm not going to lie. Every time she sees a house and she is completely floored by it, I immediately start to think, damn, wouldn't it be cool? Wouldn't it be cool if I just got that lucky and I could buy her a house? Oh, what if I ended up, getting a great radio deal? I can dream. And I could just buy her the house. I do it every time she does it. Every time. So when I was writing that article, that's what I was thinking about. I'm a kid where I know this to be true. I'll ask a lot of people. Roland, you might even be able to help me on this. So grab the mic for a second, because if you've never experienced it, then the whole story is lost. But I'm almost positive you can. Do you know anyone in your life who has ever said to you, in your walk of life, has said to you, I can't live in that neighborhood, I would be uncomfortable? I'm talking about, the brass ring, the nice neighborhood with the big houses with the pillars and all that other stuff, like the beautiful homes. You have anybody in your life that says to you, yeah, but I don't know if I'd feel comfortable living there? You know anybody like that?
I don't think so.
No? You've never met one? So every person you've ever grown up with, Louisiana, Bristol, wherever, New Britain, everyone you know from your community would look at that house and go, hell yeah, I would live there. Think of the most palatial home.
Yeah, pretty much.
They would say that, right?
Yeah, except for there's what you saying people I know, but
you know what I mean? The people in the hood.
Yeah, I see people that's never left the town that they live in.
Right.
They never even went to the adjoining town that's like
5 minutes away.
2-3 minutes away. They never even been that far past their community.
Would those people be uncomfortable in those communities?
I'm sure they would.
Okay, that's the point I'm making. There are some people who cannot live outside of the comfort zone they're in. Plenty of kids I knew growing up who lived in the Lower East Side Manhattan in Alphabet City, and that is the hood, would never dream of living on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. They would look at that, and that place would be foreign to them. They would see those people walking around with their little Yorkshire Terriers, and they would just go, what weirdness is? They would think they were on another planet. However, present any one of them with one of those homes. Just say, any one of those folks won the lotto of $5 million.
Clearinghouse.
Say again? Yeah, Publishers Clearinghouse. And they won that money. If someone walked to them and looked at that home and said, you know what? For just $1.5 million, you've got $6 million. For $1.5 million, that house could be yours cash out. Who would turn it down? Who would? Do you know anybody who would? 6 bedrooms. Pool in the back.
Not really.
No, right? Who would? 3-car garage. Nobody would. And who wouldn't look at that as an opportunity to upgrade, right? They wouldn't treat that house like they would in the hood, so to speak. Like every day they would be looking at the house and be like, oh, no, that grass looks awful. Oh, no, this house looks... They would treat it like it was the best. So that's the whole genesis of the article. It's to say anybody who had worked hard, forget about the people who won the lotto, if you had worked hard, if you had gotten a windfall to work hard to actually get that home, like you had done all the legwork, you had scraped by, you had done all the double shifts, you had saved all the money, you ate top ramen for the past 4 years, never eating like steak or meat or anything like that, just because you wanted to save every penny so you could put a down payment on this palatial home. Who wouldn't do it? Who wouldn't?
Yeah, but if you had to do all that for it, you shouldn't do it.
But no. I'm talking about if that is your desire to do it. Right? It's your desire to do it. My question is, what if you put all of that sweat equity into your life and you moved into that palatial home, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the government says, you know what? We're just going to build a high-rise next door because we want to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to live the life you fought so hard for. You know what? You fought hard, and that's wrong. We're going to make that easy for anybody and everybody, and they don't have to eat all the top ramen and save all of the money and scrape by and do the double shifts. In fact, they currently don't even do any of the work that you did. We're just going to plant them right next door. How would you feel about that? That somebody got to, in essence, cut the line.
Happens all the time.
Yes, but are you okay with it?
It's part of life.
Oh, it cannot be part of life, Roland.
It surely is.
No, I'm not arguing that it isn't. But my point, should it be?
No, I mean, should I?
Come on, Roland. Look how much hard work you put into the home that you're living in now. To make it, I mean, come on. I'm not going to say you live like a lavish life, but you live a damn good life. Would you not say?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a middle class guy.
Yeah, you're a middle class guy. Okay. But you do recognize how much sweat equity you put into getting a middle class home or being a member of the middle class. You wouldn't trade it for the lower tier, would you?
I've already been there.
You've been there. That's what I'm saying. That's my point. My point is that no one would. That's the whole purpose of the article is, in essence, just to talk about those people who have scraped by. Everyone's under the impression that if you live in that community, you were already established, like you were already set to live there anyway. Right? Like you woke up with a silver Craftsman in your mouth. Mm-hmm. Like you woke up one day and you were living in a 5-bedroom McMansion. That was never the case, usually. And again, I'll go to a stupid movie I always mention. And it's one of the, I always tell my kids to pay attention very closely to the scene. One of my favorite movies by John Hughes is called Pretty in Pink. It was the height of my Molly Ringwald crush when I was a kid.
What kind of movie is that?
It's romantic comedy. Be quiet. Anyway, he's making another point. Anyway, but in that movie, Ducky and goodness gracious, Molly Ringwald, I forget her character's name. But anyway, Ducky and Molly Ringwald are driving in a car, and they're driving by these beautiful homes. And Molly Ringwald's character says, Andy, that's her name. Andy says, I bet you the people who live inside don't even realize how beautiful those houses are. And I always took issue with that because that makes no logical sense. Of course they know how beautiful the house is. It's probably the reason they bought it in the first place.
I think more so she's trying to insinuate that they're so used to that lifestyle that it doesn't even...
They take it for granted.
Yeah, they take it for granted.
Yeah, but everybody moves into a house because they find, well, at least usually, some people move into a place because they have to, right? It's suitable. I'll say, it may not be my dream home, but I need an apartment. Or it may not be the place that I wanted to live, but I got to live there because these are the means in which I have. Some people have to buy a car.
Yep.
They don't always get the car that they want. They have to get a car that they can afford and they can get. It could be a lime green golf cart, but they got to get a car, and that's what their means are. But when people buy something that's beautiful by choice, to assume that they don't recognize how beautiful it is assuming that they don't understand its worth or they take it for granted, which again is why the problem I have with that scene in that statement. Of course they know it's beautiful. They earned the right to buy something that beautiful.
Yeah, not all of them. Some of them inherited the right to buy.
How many
beautiful.
People in the world have inherited their money?
A lot of it.
I'm sure a lot. But if you think the percentage-wise, I don't think. In fact, you know what? When we go to a break, I'm going to look up how many people have inherited their money in the United States versus those who have earned it on their own.
Earned it on their own.
Yeah, I'm dying.
That's good statistics to look up.
Because then it lets you know, it really helps you understand how many people in this country who are wealthy really did the work on their own. Because look, Bill Gates did not, grow up with a silver spoon in his mouth. And neither did what's the other guy?
Who's the FedEx owner?
The FedEx owner guy. I don't know. The guy who invented FedEx is probably.
No, he started it from scratch.
That's right. Sure did.
Because he went to college and wrote a paper and his professor said this will never work.
That's right.
And he dropped out and him and his homeboys started their own thing.
Isn't that crazy, huh?
Yeah.
Huh. Well, the premier.
Fire that guy.
Yeah. That reminds me of talking about fire that guy. It's always, never try. When anyone tells you can't get it done, do it anyway.
I used to, when a passion, I hated that so much. This is where I got my hunger from as far as being a competitive monster that I am.
Yeah.
People used to say, oh, you can't do this and you can't do that. Me and my cousin would try to not only do it, but do it 10 times.
Yeah.
Just to show you. You said I couldn't do it.
Doing it once
I
was
couldn't
never
do it once.
enough. Yeah.
I just did it 10 times.
I tell people this story all the time. It still makes me laugh. What is it? Eddie Murphy talking to Rodney Dangerfield. And Rodney Dangerfield telling Eddie Murphy when he was starting, he goes, hey, what do you have to do all that cursing for? You don't have to curse all the time. And it's a couple of years later, and Eddie Murphy's at a bathroom stall and standing there is Rodney Dangerfield after Eddie has become like the biggest star in the world. And Rodney looks at him and goes, hey, what do I know?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, what do I know? What's interesting about that, and this is crazy, you know what the other part of that story is, the 360 moment? Many people say that Rodney Dangerfield, in the latter part of his career, started cursing in his act. People forget that.
Oh, so he was trying to
he was
stay relevant a little longer.
He was trying to stay relevant and ended up putting curse words in his act. That was never his thing. So here it is telling Eddie Murphy he doesn't have to use the language. Eddie Murphy becomes a big star in the latter part of Rodney Dangerfield.
I got to get on board.
Yeah, exactly. Is that wild?
Yeah, I mean, hey, you can't beat him, join him.
You can't beat him, join him. It's so true. Anyway, we'll take a break. When we come back, we are checking. I think I just got a text message.
We're going to traffic. We missed the break, so.
Oh, we did? Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, we got to go to traffic. Is Mark Christopher's back?
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay. Mark Christopher is back in the BPS Lawyers Traffic Center. Ugh, look at me forgetting exactly where I am. Okay. He says, okay, so that's Josh Elliott. He just sent me a text message that said he's running a few minutes behind. Roads are ish, he says. Let me see. Let me ask him how soon does he think? Do you think? And I will put that in there because we got plenty of time. We've got traffic and weather coming back up at 4:08 in a second. So I think he's got plenty of time before we do that. Also, again, I just want to say I'm really, I'm just over the moon about having had a discussion with Gordon Chang, and the fact that he actually said when your heroes tell you that's a good point or you're 100% on point. That's like, it's like being graded by your favorite teacher and getting all A's. It's like the best feeling. I'm just really excited about that. And my wife is texting me about it. She's like, oh, that's so cool. I'm like, yeah, it is kind of cool. They say never meet your heroes. I don't think that's true. So, coming up, if he can get through traffic, Josh Elliott is on his way here. I think he's driving up from Hamden. We'll see how soon he gets here, and we'll talk to him. Here's Mark Christopher. He's back. He's in the BPS Lawyers Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
It's Reese on the radio. And don't say we didn't warn you on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
All right, we're back. Reese on the radio. Looks like Josh Elliott just came into the building. Roland is going out there to go get him now. We'll get him in the studio. We'll sit right across from me in a minute. Goodness, I was going to go in the stupidest thing that I read today, but guess what? I did find out an answer to our question. And if you're just joining us, Roland and I were having a discussion about people in this country who are wealthy. And the people who in this country who are wealthy, how much money they have, whether or not they got their money doing their own work or whether or not they inherited it. And that number is astounding, Roland. So when you get in the studio, I'll tell you before we go to weather and traffic with Mark Christopher. Josh, have a seat there. Look at him looking all fancy with the light. What is going on here? That is, what is that? Italian? Wow. Goodness gracious. Hold on, let me turn your microphone up here real quick. We'll get to you in a second. We're going to get to traffic and weather. But you look got all fancy looking for me.
For you.
Yeah, man, I'm in here in a T-shirt and a baseball cap, and you come in here in Italian. Look at you. Man. Thank you, man. Anyway, we'll get to first second traffic. By the way, Mark Christopher, who's in the BPS Lawyers Traffic Center. Roland, 73% of millionaires are self-made, 27% primarily inherited their wealth. Mark Christopher, he's in the BPS Lawyers Traffic Center. How we doing, bud?
It's Reese on the radio on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
What's going on, guys? It's Reese on the radio. We are back, and we are live. Sitting across from me in his Italian-made, what is that color? Is that like
tan?
Tan,
I guess?
tan, whatever it is.
It's called Etro.
Etro?
It's very bougie.
It is incredibly bougie.
You know, I hadn't bought a suit in probably about 15 years. I said I hate wearing suits. Turns out none of the suits I had actually fit me, and that's why.
Really?
So I only have a couple suits, and I just, I have the nice little rotation going.
Yeah.
I wanted something a little bit nicer. I felt good about, and I'm all squared away. My girlfriend says, I want you to buy a couple more suits to mix it up. I'm like, I'm good.
I hear you. Josh Elliott is in the house. running for governor against the incumbent, at least trying to primary him. How is that going?
It's long days, man. 12-hour days minimum. It's all about the money. It's about getting onto the ballot. You got to be on the phone minimum 4 hours a day every day, going to Democratic town committees every night, events every weekend. There's no moment where I'm not thinking about this thing. So it's just it takes your entire life over when you do it.
Does it? Well, I can imagine it doesn't, because if you're anything like me, you are not discouraged at all of the polling data that's out that sort of says that, this race is already decided and Governor Lamont is winning. Why? When knowing that is happening, what is the thing that motivates you to go against him? Is he that bad of a governor?
There's a number of things. The story that I tell, by the way, after the last time that we talked, was that we disagreed for an hour and a half on every single thing, except our tax system.
That's right.
We agreed on that.
That's right.
So, and that's the thing that I'm talking about. This is a guy who makes $55 million a year from passive generational income. He's one of the 27%.
Yeah.
And he's the person that basically stops all sort of reform. And my belief is that we need to be doing whatever we can to help working class people. That is my sole goal.
Do you think that's part of the reason why not? Because there was a discussion that went on last week that you and I talked about that sort of brought you in here. We'll talk about that a little bit with the, was it a town council or Board of Ed,
Granby
right?
Board of Ed.
Yeah, the Board of Ed.
We'll
talk about that a little bit.
Sure.
But I think a lot of what you said is what sort of brings my question.
Yeah.
Is it because there is this resistance of infighting in the Democrat Party that you have not been able to attack the governor about some of the things that are happening? I'll give you a perfect example.
Sure.
House Bill 5044, which gives the authority of vaccine mandates to one individual and sort of edges out any public discussion about those things. Yeah. Why are you not talking about Ned Lamont putting nutmeggers in a position that one person determines what our vaccine policy is? Why can't you discuss it? Because I know you're not cool with that, Josh.
Yeah. Do you know that? Here's what I'll say.
Come on, you're going to sit up here and tell me that you would give that authority to one person?
So, do I know specifically what's in that bill, where it's going to land? No, but I want to back up. I was one of the leaders on eliminating the religious exemption. I'm assuming, do you know what this is? Okay, so basically, in K through 12, there was an exemption that said, if you as a parent don't want to vaccinate your kid, you could say that because of my religion, I don't want my kid to be vaccinated.
Okay.
But what was happening is the vast majority of parents were not doing this based on religious grounds. They were doing it based on moral grounds. But they were using the religious exemption. How do I know this? Well, my own mother did it.
Okay.
I also just know a lot of other people that did it. So what was happening was we were seeing the rates of kids that were vaccinated go down, down, down. Now, was it at the point of being dangerous? No, it was not. But was it getting to that point based on trajectory? Yes, it was. Right now, because we eliminated the religious exemption, we are one of the best vaccinated states in the country. So I'm telling you this only in terms of the basis of where I come from, because I believe in the safety of vaccines. I believe in the efficacy of vaccines. I do understand this idea of putting too much power in one place. I don't know enough about 5044 yet.
Okay.
So I can't opine about the specifics of that bill.
Well, you need to, because there are a lot of people who are outraged by it. And I'll tell you, they are going to start asking you the question about what you think about it. So I know you know nothing about it, so I won't press you on it.
No, and I'm on the committee. I'm on the public health committee.
Okay.
I will be learning about it.
Okay.
A lot of the things that were coming through the pipeline right now are coming from the governor's office, because they put out this big stack of things they'd like to see. Then it's up to us in the legislature to work on them. So we in the committee have to be talking these things through. We have another month or so before we have to get bills out of committee. And what I'll say is, one of my roles in the legislature, I'm screening chair. So I'm essentially like the filtering system for House Dems, meaning that when the bill comes out of a committee, we then determine where that bill goes. So I'm in consultation with the chairs, in consultation with the vice chairs, making sure that everybody's happy. But I'm also talking with the Republicans as well, and getting a sense of what their concerns are and what they'd like to see.
Just understand one thing when you look at this housing bill, 5044.
Yes.
This bill does not just, it's not about just child vaccines. This is also adults. It's everybody in the solitary power of one person.
Yeah.
That's why the concern is there, because in essence, you can start doing what you did during the pandemic. You can't work if you're not vaccinated.
Right.
That kind of central control by the state government is a little bit of an overreach. Many of us consider it a great overreach.
Yeah.
But you don't know much about it. I told it. Let me move on.
Yeah.
How are you on the housing bill? Are you okay with giving the sort of participation trophy of being able to live in one of the nice neighborhoods here in Connecticut without having to do all of the groundwork that many of us have done, myself included.
Yeah.
Those of us who have done sort of put the sweat equity into living into some of these communities, and now we're just dropping people off in them because usually we don't have that opportunity for most.
Yeah. So let's step back for just a minute. So we're about a month into session.
Okay.
Right now, we are a part-time legislature. So we started in February. We're going to end in early May.
Mm-hmm.
The way that this works is the first 2 months is when all the committees really start sussing these ideas out. And because it's a short session, we have 3 months or so, all the ideas that we have right now are all basically leftover ideas from the first year, from last year.
Understood.
So this is a lot of these ideas that we're seeing were from the 5,002, which turned into 8,002. Now, here's what I'll say about where you're coming from specifically. There is this sense from advocates that when people are allowed to live in any sort of town, any municipality, we see better outcomes in terms of education, better outcomes in terms of job opportunities. Because
Josh, they're already allowed to live anywhere they want.
Well, that is true technically.
Okay. No, that's a fact. It's not a technical thing. Yeah. I am allowed to live in any community I wish to if I can afford to live there.
I agree with you. I agree with you. When I say technically, what I mean is that a lot of towns price people out, and you don't have the public services that you need to have transportation between different towns. So ultimately what happens socioeconomically, a lot of people end up having to live in very specific places. And so a lot of the housing advocates say, well, we need to figure out ways to provide social services that allow people to live in the town that they work. And when I say allow, not in terms of like you are not allowed to live here like there's some sort of like gate, but allow in terms of socioeconomically, ensuring that there is affordable housing for people that work in the
I totally understand where you're coming from, but what I'm saying here and then the argument here is that many people in these communities, right, who have developed these communities, right?
Yes.
There's a sort of structure.
We're talking about wealthier communities?
Of course we are.
Okay, yeah. I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah. No, we're talking. Yeah, of course we're talking about wealthier communities, or communities that people again have worked their way to. This is. And again, this is a guy coming from Hollis, Queens, from the ghetto, if you will, right?
You worked your way
Connecticut,
up.
exactly, is considered the brass ring. There's no other way to look at this. The way that we look at this, those of us who scraped by to get here, right, worked hard to get here. This is a form of participation trophy.
But wait, hold on. What's being taken away from people that are living in wealthier areas?
What is being taken away?
What's being taken away?
In many ways, I would say their sense of community. In essence, we're just dropping people in for the sake of making it affordable for just anyone. Here's what I'm saying. I've seen the communities that these people come from. Look, I don't have to sugarcoat it for you. I'll tell you straight out. I can see the communities that these people come from. They may be good people, but I know where they come from. Okay? And there is a certain level or degree of which we, in our neighborhoods, want them to understand. And if they don't understand the culture of a neighborhood, because look, guess what?
Wait, hold on. I just want to clarify. Is them people of lesser socioeconomic means?
Those people who, I'll have to be honest with you, are they less social economic means? 100%.
Okay.
Do they understand?
I'm just trying to clarify what we're talking about.
Do they understand how communities operate that are outside of the cities, like Hartford or New Haven? If those people do not understand, now I'm saying that there are some people who would live in those communities and understand. Yes, we've got to keep it.
You're concerned about crime?
Oh no, I don't necessarily know about crime. There's no way to vet these people on whether or not they're criminals.
Wait. So what is it you're concerned about?
My concern with is when somebody has earned the right to live in a community, they usually treat it like they've earned it.
Okay, so it's a matter of respecting.
Yes, because
the space?
You do have to understand, Josh. When you have earned the right to live someplace,
are you talking about like loitering or like graffiti?
No. Let's get back to the point. When you have earned the right to get something, you treat it with respect.
Yes.
When you earn the right to buy a BMW, you make sure that nobody scratches it and that it's parked in a safe space and nobody comes near it.
What is the it?
What I'm saying to you is that when you drop someone into a community who hasn't earned the right to be there, they don't appreciate it. That's not something that's a theory.
Sure.
That is a fact. If you just tell them anybody can live there.
It's an emotional thing.
No.
You're saying, okay.
Statistically true that if you have not earned the right to anything, you will treat it like it's garbage. In essence, there is no earned value.
What is the treating of of a community
living
like
into
garbage.
it, living in a community that you have not, that you know, and most of these people know this.
But what physically are people doing that we don't want them to be doing?
What we don't want them to be doing?
Yeah.
I don't know. Treating it like it's trash, dumping litter. I don't know. Being loud and disrespectful, not respecting members of the community.
But
wait. Hold on. And another thing, I'll go one step further.
We have regulations.
I will even say, no. We don't have regulations on whether or not people have behavior. I'll tell you one thing that happens all the time.
Yes,
Let me explain. No, we don't. Let me explain to you. If I'm going to a shopping center in my community, right? And the community that normally when I'm there, everybody treats each other graciously. Good morning, how you doing? But then you have a group of people who in essence have been plopped in, who've always seen the other side as people who don't respect them or people who look at them funny. Those people walk into the communities with those attitudes and they see everybody as an adversary. Those people, they never wanted us in this neighborhood. They walk into these situations with an attitude. So if somebody says to them, like, sweetheart, can you please not do that? Oh, you got a problem with me because I'm such and such? Those are the type of things, because again, they're not from around there. They don't understand the way in which the community flows.
I don't know, man. There's some like rich people that act pretty crappy too.
Absolutely, but I don't think that you understand. And maybe you're being.
I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit.
No, I understand.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, but you know that this to be true. That if you get a bunch of people in a community that already have an adversarial bent. No, I'm telling you that this is true.
People with an adversarial bent, sure. But what I will say to you is I believe that there are people of lesser economic means that don't think that way, and there are people of...
How do you vet them?
Oh, I mean, you don't vet them.
So you say, let's run the risk of saying, well, they may not be adversarial.
There's no real risk. There's a lot.
Let's just allow everybody in, and then we'll weed out the ones who disrespect the community. My point, no. What I'm saying to you is that the wealthy, Richard, has earned the right in the community to be, hey, he's earned the right because he worked his way up. What I'm saying to you is this. I know you will. I know you disagree. Because your end result is, here's the end result. What I'm saying is that you would put more faith in the person who doesn't have the opportunity than the faith that you would put in the people who have already earned the right to be there. That's my point.
I just know there's a lot of people who get help and are just grateful for the help, and that's really it.
And there's no way for you to know that for certain, Josh. See, this is the thing.
No. But there's also no way to know for certain that they're going to act in a way that
I understand it, but here's the thing.
Their space.
Here's the thing. So what I would say is, and this is the interesting part, there are many people in your party who have just assumed these people are great. And my response to that is, how do you know?
When you go, these people being people of lesser means.
No. Yeah, so what?
Okay.
So what of lesser means? I'm still making the point.
I'm trying to clarify.
No, I'm making it clear.
You say
I don't care if they're of lesser means. My point to you is this, is that when you say, well, these people are great, they're just like everybody else. And I go, how do you know that? They go, well, I don't. It's like, then how do you get to tell us that they are?
Oh, I don't know. I think we're all pretty similar, man. That's really it. No matter how much money you get, I think we're all pretty similar.
How do you know that we're all pretty similar?
How do I? By living? By being a human? By talking with people? What do you mean? How do you know anything?
I don't. That's the point. I've never made the assumption that they are. What I'm saying
making the assumption that they're different.
No. I'm making the assumption that the people who have earned the right to live anywhere, the people who have earned the right to buy a car that is very expensive, those people usually treat those things like they are expensive cars. People who are handed them freely, statistically, always treat it like crap.
You're saying a community is like a thing.
Why is it that every person who wins... You ever notice that every person... Hold on. You ever notice that usually some people who win the lottery win millions and millions of dollars, go broke immediately?
Totally.
You want to know why?
Absolutely.
You want to know why? Because when they've never been around money, they don't know how to spend money.
Absolutely.
So it's always statistically true that if you put someone who's never been in a position and put them in that new position, they always fail, because if they know nothing about the respect of money, the understanding of money, they usually disrespect it.
I don't know if I agree with that analogy.
I think the statistics bear them out. But I got to go to a break because we got another check of weather and traffic. A spirited conversation. I like you, man. You have no idea. I really do. We'll take a break. Mark Christopher, he's in the BPS Lawyers Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
Stay locked in. Reese on the radio is on WTIC News Talk 1080.
I have to admit, one of my favorite interviews in the world is sitting right across from me and Josh Elliott, probably because talking to you is like debating with like my brother.
Yeah.
You're a pain in my ass.
I believe it, man.
You're like completely pain in my ass.
I believe it, man.
And but it's fun nonetheless. It's a nice little spar.
Yeah.
I've got traffic and weather coming up, but I want you to tease them. So behind the scenes, I was telling you that Martin Looney has got this plan where parents who wish to homeschool their kids wants to give them a DCF file. My pastor, Pastor Todd Williams, was here on the show yesterday, and he's I guess he was at a public hearing today to discuss that. He's homeschooled all of his kids.
Yeah.
And he's fighting this because he's like, why would we be putting a DCF file on every parent, on every kid?
Reese,
that goes,
I was homeschooled for 8 years.
Okay, so you were homeschooled. Come on, man. So you understand this. You were like deep in the weeds on this. So you're going to sit up here and tell me you agree with Martin Looney here?
Buddy, here's the thing. It's not about the parents that are doing a good job. It's about the parents that are having their kids like malnourished and like starving in their basement.
Okay, yes, I get both of those cases.
That's it.
That's 2 cases. I get it.
What if it was 0, man?
No.
That's my point.
I think you're missing another part of this.
Okay.
So we're going to get deep in the weeds on this, and we'll talk about it on the other side. Because if I start bringing it up now, then we'll never get to traffic and weather, and people will be mad. I don't want to get them mad. But I think you're missing something here. But like I said, I want to talk to people. I'm so sick and tired of talking to people who agree with me. I'm getting sick and tired of you. No, I love it. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Of course, I want to talk about some of your campaign.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest with you, Josh, this sounds unfair. I really want you. I want you to take it to this guy. You want to get on the debate stage with him, don't you?
I want to win.
Okay, well, aside from that, do you at least want to get on a debate stage?
Of course.
I think you'll nail this guy.
Of course I would. He'll never agree to a debate. He knows he'd get crushed by me. Come on, man.
Yeah.
He will never.
Behind the scenes, I want to tell you a story that someone told me about Lamont.
Yeah.
That you may know already.
Okay.
I'll tell you about it behind the scenes. I can't really talk about it on air.
Yeah.
But a very, very reliable source told me something about meeting with Lamont that blew my mind. And I just want to pick your brain about it.
Sure.
But I may be informing you or giving you a little bit of intel if you don't know the story.
I love intel.
I'm sure I want to share it with you as well. Also, sitting across from us, what's your name again? Aiden, that's right, Aiden. Aiden is sitting here. He is a much attractive Peter Griffin. And he does. He looks like him. I'm going to take a picture of him later. He does. But I mean that in a good way. You do. You're very handsome Peter Griffin, without a doubt. Mark Christopher, he's in the BPS Lawyers Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
There's a handsome version of Peter Griffin.
I'm going to take a picture of him. You will not believe it.
He's going to quit today.
No, he's not. He is adorable. Well, we'll take a break. Hey, Mark.
The NAACP calls him, whoa, I don't think I'm allowed to read this. It's Reese on the radio. Let's just say some people are not fans. On News Talk 1080 WTIC.
Do you know anybody at the NAACP? They're not fans of me. They're not. Yeah, sell out, Uncle Tom, the usual stuff. Didn't vote for Obama, things like that, the usual stuff. Decided to have a mind on my own. The Negroes went crazy.
No comment, man. I'm just listening.
It always drives them crazy. Josh Elliot is here. He's running for governor of the great state of Connecticut.
Yes, sir.
Behind the scenes, we were telling some stories and some tales, but I want to get to you on this homeschooling thing.
Yeah.
So you were homeschooled for how many years?
8 years.
8 years. Ages?
What was I, like 6 to 14?
Okay, so you were like first grade. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kindergarten in school, first grade out of school.
Okay. So you understand this. And you know that Martin Looney, who was talking just a couple of weeks ago, was saying that he wanted some revisions to the rules when parents homeschool their kids.
Yeah.
One of which we found out is that if you plan on homeschooling your child, that you would have a DCF file opened up. Not that you would be investigated, but in essence, you would have a file with DCF.
Uh-huh.
And you say that you're okay with that.
I think that there's a role for the state to play to make sure all the kids in our state are okay. Not to put an overburdening hand, not to say that you are parenting poorly or well, just to say we want to make sure that your kid isn't starving in the basement.
Okay.
That's it.
Right.
That's it.
So
that's the perspective for me. I can't tell you what anybody else's perspective is.
You don't see this as a deterrent?
But there were a lot of horror stories that came out over the last couple of years.
Yes,
of kids that we just lost track of.
Yeah, of course. Who lost track of them?
Well, I mean, the state.
That's right. So what you think the remedy to that is give the state more of a burden? But because this plan would add 17 more cases to every DCF agent.
Right, because we weren't bringing people into the mix. So like we just let these things go by.
We're watching kids die who have DCF files.
And that's also a problem.
Okay,
I'm not
so
saying the other
let's
side
remedy
is good.
DCF. Let's not give them a bigger workload, Josh. Come on.
You can do both.
What's both?
Both is ensuring that they have a wider vantage point, but also ensuring that they have the resources that they need to do the job well.
There are 1,300 agents in the state of Connecticut. They already say they are overwhelmingly overrun with cases.
Yes.
Right? No one has told us what these cases are, but we know that they're overwhelmed.
I think we'll agree on some things here, because what I find about DCF is that at its core, what the organization does is it punishes poverty, ultimately. Because if you are somebody...
That's not their mandate.
No, it's not their mandate, but that's become their mandate. Because basically what the state does is it's so punitive on people who are just struggling to get by and saying that you aren't doing a good enough job as a parent. But we know that like putting kids into foster care is not the answer. You got to keep families together, and you can't just keep on hassling families with state intervention.
Keeping them, okay, first of all, I already know that because trust me, I'm on good authority that they do not want to separate families at DCF.
But that's
in fact,
new. That's
no,
new.
No, that is new because of the new leadership.
Which is well, it's also new science.
No, but the science doesn't bear out. Listen to what I'm telling you. First of all, you have to get bad parents away from children. Why? Because the children always die. The reason why is because the reason why there's a DCF file in the first place is because there's clearly neglect, violence, or other, and they're usually worse. But the bottom line is this idea of saying we can't punish poverty. You're not punishing poverty. You're saving lives. If you look at it, listen, this is the old saying that I used to get in AA. If you listen.
I think we agree on this. Man.
Nah, but if you look at, this is my point that I'm saying.
Yeah.
If you address every problem like a hammer, every problem is a nail. What I'm saying to you is this. Let's forget about this whole let's try to keep the family together. Let's protect children. That's got to be the mission statement, if anything.
Yeah.
Okay?
Of course.
Okay. So the science doesn't bear out that we have to keep them with a family that neglects them. The reason why there is a DCF file in the first place is because the family has a problem going on.
I think where we're like separating is like what is neglect and where do we define neglect? And I think that there was a time when we were saying even a little bit of neglect is enough to take a kid away, because it used to be for a long time, for decades and decades, there's this idea of benign neglect. It's like allowing the kid to like wander the neighborhood, and that was okay. This was a cultural thing. We had no problem with this.
But this sounds like a one-size-fits-all thing. I don't want them to treat anything like a one-size. DCF dealing with children's neglect or abuse, whatever it be, sexual or physical. If neglect, any of that stuff, no, there is no one-size-fits-all. But we are dealing with an organization that treats them like one-size-fits-all. Perfect example, in the Mimi Torres case. What did that caseworker do that essentially dropped the ball in all of this? She has a video conference with a 20-year-old who she believes is an 11-year-old. What conversation did she have with the 20-year-old? When she's, again, concerned about her well-being. She asked the girl, 1, how's Virginia? 2, have you made any friends? And closed the case. That's not... Why would DCF do that? Because they're overrun and they're just rushing kids through like a revolving door.
Oh, if you are telling me that they are under-resourced and understaffed, I will agree with you all day long.
So add 17 more cases onto them to every time a mother or a father wants to homeschool their child.
But you're making the assumption that we add more cases and then do nothing else in a vacuum. If we're going to ask them to do more with more caseloads, we have to give them more resources, provide more people.
Explain resources. That's a great buzzword. What's the resource?
Resources is money. Resources is bodies. Resources is like training materials.
We also have to change the mission statement of DCF. I mean, what they're doing is an antiquated system that has caused kids to die. And every time we turn around, we've got more and more kids dying or in harm's way.
Oh, there is not a soul in the legislature who will tell you that DCF is operating perfectly. And even
his name is Ned Lamont.
Well, sure. And even people...
I have him on video. He said they do a good job, is what he said.
Even people at... So I want to specify a few things. This is not to demean the people at DCF, because the people that are there believe in their mission, and they're doing the best they can with the resources that they've been given.
While kids are dying. Yes, they're doing a fantastic job. Kids are dying. I know.
Well, listen, man. If you're given an impossible job, how can you be expected to succeed?
You quit.
Sure.
You quit. If you can't do the job, you got to quit. Look, no offense. I don't care about, listen. I know it's not, I know it's politically correct that you're not supposed to say anything horrible about the good people who work at DCF. When kids are dying, I don't care how good of a job they're doing because it isn't showing up in the results. This is the niceties are boring.
But you're blaming people and I'm blaming processes. I'm saying it's a system that's broken. It's not a fault of the people that are there. If you don't give them what they need to succeed, how can they succeed?
A different mission statement, Josh. The different mission statement is, you and I are arguing two different things. You're saying they need resources.
I think I continue to believe that we actually agree. I'm just not the one. I'm just not the one getting intense about it, man.
Because look, I'm sorry. I'm a former homeless kid. I'm a former abused kid.
Yeah.
This is personal to me.
Yeah,
and I know that, guess what? I went through so much abuse as a kid. Nobody ever called BCW. I literally had to be sent to the hospital before BCW had ever even literally got involved in my life, and I ended up in a group home. But guess what? I got it on the way of my mother, who was beating me with 2x4s.
Yeah.
Okay, so they didn't decide to separate me from my mother until I was almost dead.
Yeah.
So my point to you is why are we waiting until the kids are almost dead, if not dead, before we start saying we need to turn this around?
So your perspective is take kids away earlier.
No, my deal is to take kids away when you see that there's clearly a problem. We have to look at the person and we can't say, they're black and they're poor. Let's not take their kids away. No, we got to treat them like human beings and say, you are abusing your kid. You don't deserve to have one. And I don't care what color you are.
In a world of perfect information, I would agree with you. Here's where I disagree. It's hard for state actors to know that that's happening.
What?
It's hard for...
Talk to the kid.
Sure, but not all kids are going to be honest about it. Or
who cares?
Be open about it. Or like say what's happening. Or
now we're under the impression that the kids would lie about the abuse?
No.
Okay.
If you are a victim of abuse, very often, you're a kid, you don't have the wherewithal to have the words to say what's happening. Some do, and some will, and many can, but not all will. All I'm saying is that this is not a panacea, and that we are not in a position as a state to be knowing everything that's happening. I say all these things because I think that we should have more agents, and I think we should have better training, and we should have better people that are doing this work that can help as managers, case managers, to have fewer case loads, to have better personal relationships, so that they can suss out when there is this sort of thing happening. Yeah. Because
we have to stop with the nonsense, because
Nobody wants what happened to you.
Yes. What I'm understanding, and this is, again, on good authority.
Yeah.
What I understand is going on DCF is that they have the biggest problem, and it's their own internal issue.
Yeah.
They have a huge problem when it comes to people of color, because they do not want to separate those families because they believe those things are racist.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to say is, if you think that somebody's race should determine whether or not a kid should be removed, you are a bigot, because it has nothing to do with whether or not you're black or brown, and whether or not your statistics say you're separating families who happen to be black or brown more than you are with the white kids. If you care more about that, you don't care about kids. Yeah. You care about your bottom line.
Yeah, man. What I will say is that I fully agree with the fact that nothing that we're doing should be based on race.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course. I fully agree with that. Yeah, of course I agree with that.
All right. So I was trying to get you there. No. I know you're there. So talk to me a little bit about before I get off this. I'm glad you're always going to be back, and I love talking to you.
Yeah.
What's your strategy to go up against this guy Lamont? Because
I got to talk to people, because he won't. That's it. I just got to talk to people. I got to talk to a lot of people. There's a reason I went up from 7% to 13, 14%.
Yeah.
And we haven't spent a single dollar on advertising. I'm a lowly state representative, but the thing is, I talk to a lot of people. And when you talk with me, and you get a sense of where I stand and what we agree on and what we disagree on, and you see that I'm actually listening to what you're saying and trying to focus on what we agree on. Of course, we disagree on plenty, but it's not like we disagree on everything. And the fact is that, yes, okay, I came into the legislature as a Bernie guy. So you got to blame. I can't be blaming the Republicans when the Democrats have been in power. Right. Over the course of 10 years, I worked my way up in leadership. I'm deputy speaker, caucus co-chair, and screening chair. Strong relationship with the speaker. I have a strong relationship with Vin, the minority leader, and Republicans and conservative colleagues, because a lot of this work is just listening. And so what you see on the front end from these campaigns is like combativeness. But when you're actually elected, you have to get stuff done. You got to get bills over the finish line. And we're all there to help people. And so maybe we disagree on the premises of what we're doing and how we're doing it. But ultimately, the Republicans have an incredible amount of power. And that's the power to talk. We've given them, and when I say we give them, because we have a supermajority, and we have said as a state that we are going to allow endless debate. So if they want to, they can make every single bill last for 14 hours. They could make a situation where we only get 3 bills done over the entire session, but they don't, because we get hundreds and hundreds of things done because we've reached consensus. Now, on the back end, they'll say that we weren't included and all these things, and that's fine. That's part of the show.
A lot of people hate the fact that they have conceded in a lot of ways, but I get your point.
But ultimately, like, the people have spoken. They have gotten Democrats into office. So we do still need to get stuff done, and we do need to protect the will of the people in that way. But I also realize that just like, man, we're just like not that far apart from each other. I think that you and I are probably closer than me and Ned Lamont because he's living in a different universe.
Yeah.
When you come from that immense wealth, you just can't see the world the same way that the rest of us
do. Who says that? Who are the people? Because there are a lot of people who say that you kind of you're kind of a far left progressive.
Sure.
I don't. You're okay with that?
I don't care what the title is.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
I'll be called everything, which you know.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, darn it, we have so much other stuff to get into. You gave a pass to these ladies who made this, who called you gay and said you were, 3 flame out of 5.
I love it. I take that as a compliment, man. There's no insult there. I will share a conversation I had with a friend of mine because I didn't even understand like what would even be the problem. And she said, well, if they were talking in a public setting about somebody being gay and that person was gay and they weren't out yet, that actually makes it potentially unsafe for them. So with that context, I understand what they could have been doing was damaging.
It's something else, but it's the fact that they actually tried to destroy the record that they're really, really
I think
up against
if somebody's panicking and they feel like it gets out, I understand. I won't opine on that. Do I think they acted perfectly? No, I do not. Do I think that they acted in a way that means that they should give up their seat and they should be publicly, castigated? No, I don't believe that either. People say and do dumb stuff. Fine, on to the next.
Yeah, but they were okay. Listen, and I agree with you.
Yeah.
You say what you say and then you own up to it, or you say that's not what I meant, blah, blah, blah. But trying to destroy the record, that's where they cross the line.
Yeah, so I don't know enough about that.
Okay.
That may be true. And I know the record went away. I don't know what normally happens. It's because I heard that it normally gets destroyed for a pre-meeting because I don't know. And also, okay, so maybe if that's the case, shouldn't have done it. If that's not the case, who cares? All that to say is all right, on to the next. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
I think that a lot of this was sort of like a slow news day, and somebody was really trying to, because it took a while before it actually went to the news cycle.
There were a few days where I was talking with a lot of people that were in the area, and we were just talking it out. I think people felt bad for me, and what I did, I wanted to keep on telling people, I'm good. I'm fine.
Right. Well, if you're okay, I mean, there's nothing for me to be offended about if you're not offended.
What's there to be offended? Listen,
I still think they were. I think they were just a bunch of catty bros.
I remember, I'm 6 or 7 years old. I'm in the house. My mother says, "Josh, do you like boys?" And I'm like, "Not really." And she's like, "Okay." And that was it. That was it. People have questioned my sexuality from the time I was
Oh, you and me both, my friend.
Who cares?
Yeah,
who cares? And what I've been saying is okay, if I'm 20 and I'm still figuring my own self out, I'm no, I'd be angry about it. But now as a 41-year-old man, I just, these people are my friends and my family and my allies and it's just I don't know. Whatever. I don't care.
I got to take a hardcore break because the traffic and weather's coming up. Let's get to him. Mark Christopher, he's in the BPS Lawyers Traffic Center. Can you stay for one more quick break?
I'll stay for one more
Okay,
break.
You got it. We'll be back. Josh Elliot is here and Mark Christopher's in the BPS Lawyers Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
The hour that packs a punch. It's Reese on the radio on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Josh Elliot is sticking around, and he's got a dinner and other places to go to. He's got to return the suit because it's a rental. No, I'm kidding.
That's right. Hourly too.
I'm teasing. Real quick, because I got you here. I want to take the couple of minutes if I can.
Please.
Is it going to be difficult for you to go up against Ned Lamont? Because in a lot of ways,
he's a billionaire.
Well, hear me out. The problem is that in a lot of ways, you kind of still agree with Ned Lamont. There is no daylight between you.
You're joking.
Well, I'm sorry. You're okay with the housing bill. You're okay with, you don't know much about 5044, so you have to, we'll find out where you sit on that the next time I talk to you.
Yeah.
But you seem to be kind of aligned with him, are you not? Where do you two separate each other, aside from the fact that he's a billionaire?
Buddy, I am so focused on our tax structure. This has been my thing for the last 10 years. It will be my thing until I die. If we have a tax system that says if you are wealthy, you can pay less as a percentage than everybody else, how is that different than monarchy? We are cementing generational power. I have a big, big, big problem with that. He is the focal point of this. Connecticut has one of the worst wealth and income disparities in the entire United States, and he is keeping that system. He single-handedly is keeping the system in place because the legislature is ready to make those changes and help working families out in Connecticut. He is the person who kills these bills.
Why did they – well, yeah, you can answer this. What happened with no taxes on tips and no taxes on overtime? What's your position with that?
I mean, my feeling is people that get tips are people that are probably going to be served by paying a little bit less into the system because, A, all the money that they make is going to be going into our local economies anyway.
That's right.
They should be getting the help. I don't know enough about the background of that idea specifically to know why that died, but I would be very much on board this idea of not taxing tips.
How about overtime?
Overtime? Overtime is interesting. I think I'm still okay taxing overtime. I don't know. What's your take, man? Convince me one way or the other.
I think it's a great opportunity, but you know what? When we come back real quick, I'm going to ask you about Betsy McCoy's plan to eliminate the income tax in the state and see where you stand there. You think it's crazy? Okay, all right. So I'm glad you're staying. All right, we're going to come back to you in a second. Let's get another check of traffic and weather. Mark Christopher, he's in the BPS Lawyers Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
It's Reese on the radio on NewsTalk 1080 WTIC.
Josh Elliot is here on Reese on the radio. He is going wall to wall in here about everything he wants to do.
Is that what I'm doing?
Yeah, you're going wall to wall in the sense of, I was just saying to you behind the scenes, I was like, you have a very kind of devil-may-care sort of personality about you.
Club owner, you said.
Yeah, no, I said you look like. I said you have the persona of a club owner.
Yeah,
but I wasn't saying that.
You could have gone with club promoter, by the way.
Well, no, promoter would be disparaging. Those people are worthless to me.
Your words, not mine.
Nightclub owner, meaning that you have this sort of like I said, devil-may-care sort of attitude. As you were saying behind the scene, you can't control everything. People are going to love you or people are going to hate you. And you're okay with that.
But I like these conversations too, man. Like, I don't come into a conversation having to be right. That's not my thing.
Yeah.
And this is, I work with a lot of first-time candidates, Democrats who are running across the state. And what I tell them is you can't convince anybody of anything. So take that out of your head. What you can tell people is why you're convinced. Yeah. And if you do that, then you can have an authentic, real, true, honest conversation. But if I come here and I'm like, I'm going to convince Reese that I'm right. I can't convince you of anything, man. You have decades and decades of experience of like building up your cases, building up your points. And I'm here to hear what you got to say. I'm going to tell you what I think, but I'm not like, I don't know, what are we trying to accomplish? Let's just enjoy the conversation.
Yeah, man. That's exactly it. Look, so many people in the legislature. Yeah. When you get around them, do me a favor, tell them, hey, I was on Reese on the radio the other day. You should go do his show. Yeah. You have no idea how much.
Are people afraid to come on your show?
Of course they are.
You're a gentleman.
I'm a great person. I'm a freaking delight.
You rolled out the red carpet for
Absolutely,
me, man.
I always do.
You have this whole steak dinner you provided.
Hey, all right, no lie.
Moet Chandon
there is no over here. Champagne.
I mean, it's
no,
nice.
no, sir. Do not confuse the pink champagne for champagne.
This guy's treating me real well, guys.
I try. No, but you should tell people because I would love to have a conversation with them. That's all I want to do.
I want to tell you something.
Yes.
So there is this sense from Democrats that we can't be on shows like this and we can't be talking to conservative folk because all we're doing is amplifying your voice. But, like, your voice is amplified without us. I'm not amplifying your voice. You don't need us.
That's an incredibly weird way to look at it.
But the idea is that by being on this show that we legitimize like, conservative ideology. But my feeling is that the nucleus of conservative ideology is right. I think the nucleus of progressive ideology is right. I don't think that both of those things are counter to each other. I think they can work together. And for a long time, you could be conservative and progressive in our country. That existed.
It's very true. It's very true. I remember it You're so funny you talk about that.
Yeah.
I remember the days of Paul Tsongas where that was possible.
Yeah.
And some of my friends who were very conservative liked a guy like Tsongas.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, that's weird. But it was the time.
I think more conservative folk need to hear from me, and I think more liberal folk need to hear from you, and just to hear it. There's a lot of like hearing and then judging. What if you just hear and then hear it? That's all. I think you just need to be able to hear all these voices. Now, I don't consider you. Now, this is going to be, and I want to see where you go with this, but like I don't consider you to be like Fox News. Like that.
Okay.
That I consider different. I consider this.
I do.
I consider this like just an authentic conversation.
Yeah.
You aren't trying to like shove something down your viewers' throats, my throat. You're just having a conversation. That's where I feel like it's different. This is so it's like, why wouldn't I be here?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't my colleagues be here? So I'll come on your show whenever you want me, buddy.
And you have. And every time I've asked you, you found the schedule to come in, and I don't care. The reason why I said I wanted you in last week, but you were like, I can't be in until Tuesday. And I was like, you know what? Josh is a mensch. How do I not have him in when he can come in on Tuesday? I don't care if it stays away from that story. Fine. I want to have Josh in here. Yeah. One, because I want to prove to these people that, look, I don't agree with you guys on an ideological level a lot.
Yeah.
But it's, in fact, my core listeners say, Reese, why do you even give them that, the opportunity? I'm like, I'm never going to understand where they come from and why if I don't have a conversation with them. It doesn't, again, it's not about whether or not we convince each other, as you say.
My feeling, too, is that, like, if I can just be a little less scary to your listeners, then that's a win, too.
No, it is a win.
I'm not trying to win anybody over here, but maybe just be a little less scary, because I just feel like there's so much demonization that happens, like, questioning the motives of other people. We all just want to live like good, healthy lives. We want to make sure the kids are safe, man. Maybe we have different ways of coming at it. You have different experiences than I do. And like ultimately it's these conversations that end up providing better answers. You don't get good answers when everyone agrees out the gate. You get better answers when all of a sudden you're disagreeing and you suss out, well, what are we disagreeing on? Because then when you have those hard conversations, then you can figure out like where those actual points of understanding are.
Would you be, if you were to get there, if you were to make it in office, you would beat Lamont, beat any one of the Republican candidates, and you're there. How do you incorporate conservative values in your administration, or would you at all? Would it be, hey, I won, screw you guys? I'm
gonna be on this show once a month. That's it. It's gonna be you.
Really?
You're gonna be the voice in my ear.
Okay.
That's a lot of responsibility.
Okay. Don't try to sell me a dream. I'm already there. I do believe that's
having
kind of
having
the conversations to understand, because that's the thing. I think that Democrats in a lot of ways, and I'm not speaking to you because you're here, but I think a lot of Democrats have given, you said amplify their voices. I think the part that they're missing is that they're not explaining themselves to their constituents, because guess what? Their constituents happen to be conservative as well.
I say this all the time. I think the biggest problem that I see with progressive folk and the progressive movement is coming to conversations with the knowledge that they're right. And whether or not they're objectively right or not isn't even the point. If you come to a conversation knowing that you're right, you don't even give the other person a chance to come to where you are. Because they're already going to be like, oh, screw
I don't
you.
have to convince you.
Yeah,
because you're already wrong. I've determined you're wrong, so I have no way to convince you.
You got to be having conversations. Even if you feel like 100% you can't be wrong, you still got to get people to be with you. Yeah. And but to be able to do that, you got to listen. You cannot convince people if you're only talking. You can only convince people when you're listening, and they know that they've been heard and that you understand where they're coming from. Because then you can say, well, I understand what you're saying. You're saying this. And they can say, no, you're not. I'm saying something different. Okay, well, what are you saying? And then once somebody really understands that you actually understand their perspective, that's where then you can have a constructive conversation. If we walk away from this and you're like, that guy Josh, he just talked over me the entire time. He didn't listen to a single thing that I said. Well, there's like, why even talk at that point? Yeah. But I hear what you're saying, man. I understand your perspective, especially when you're talking about DCF. Like, what universe am I going to tell you that you're wrong? I have no experience. You have lifetimes of experience. It sort of sounds like you have multiple lifetimes of experience.
Yeah,
so like
a little bit.
Yeah. So I mean, but we both want kids to be safe. And so A, I'm going to cede to you that you know way more about this. And B, we both know where we want to go. Then the question is, how do we get there?
Yes. And you know what? There is such a problem that I find and it isn't a progressive issue. I think that in opposition to conservative values in a lot of ways, I tell people all the time, if you're only thinking about the goal, you're missing the journey.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
So because, again, it's like, I know we want all kids to be safe. And I'm like, okay, there's a process to that. We can't get to the goal first and then worry about all of the damage we've done in its wake.
Yeah.
We really have got to get there in a step-by-step basis. I asked somebody to do a survey, and I want to say that it was Gordon.
Okay.
Who was the
Senator Gordon?
Senator Gordon.
Yeah,
I'm almost positive I did.
Dr. Gordon?
I may be wrong on that, but I am almost certain it was. And I said, why has there not been any audit on the root causes of DCF intervention? In other words, how many cases involve drugs? How many cases involve violence? How many cases involve, sexual nature, runaways?
They probably have that data now.
Well, I would think that they would. And I
too.
said, that is something that we need to know. Why? Because then we know if there's an overwhelming case of this, that, or the third, we know where to direct, as you said, the resources to it. Right? If we have an overwhelming amount of runaways that are in the community, we know that is the reason why the caseload is so high. So now we know exactly where to put the resources. But all we have is people waking up and going, DCF is screwing up. DCF isn't doing their job. But no one is going inside and looking under the hood to find out why they're dropping the ball so often.
Yeah.
And again, it can't be this, they get to dictate what the mandate is by saying, look, we have too many kids that are being separated who are in houses of people of color. That's why I said, that's nonsense. Let's stop. Get off. That DEI thing or that, equity and all that other stuff, it's not saving lives. It never does. It makes everybody feel good about themselves except for the kid who's dead. So that's why I want people to pay more attention to that. And that's why I was so exercised, my favorite word to use about it.
You do.
You're going to push back on Lamont. I'm assuming that you are going to start campaign ads soon. Online, television, or what?
Yeah, so yes and no. I mean, so I'm using the Citizens Election Program. It's a public financing program. The reason we have this is because we had a governor who's convicted of bribery. So we have basically the Cadillac program in Connecticut compared to the rest of the U.S. where every dollar that I raise, I get essentially $10 from the state. Now, it's not like I get $1, get $10 back right away. The barrier to entry is almost impossibly high. That said, I've raised $140,000.
You need
$340,000. I know, but the thing is, we're snowballing now. People are starting to become more aware of this campaign. People are getting exhausted of having this 80-year-old billionaire, be out there running the state. They want something different, and I can provide different. But also, there are things I specifically am working on them trying to do. And because I'm not coming out of the woodworks, I've been doing this work for a decade. I worked my way up in the legislature. You can also look at my track record and know that when I say I'm going to do something, I'm not just BSing you. I've been doing these things. So I got to raise that money first, because when I raise that $340,000, I'll get over $3 million. And so that money's got to go somewhere. So it's going to be going towards ads. It's going to be going towards, hiring up and getting people out indoors and all these things that go into a campaign. But right now, everything is so tight in terms of money, keeping sure that I have enough money to pay for the staff right now. Because I raise this money, I can use that money.
Right.
But the goal of raising the money is not to spend it right now. It is to unlock that grant to then get more and more name recognition.
Well, I want to see the two of you lay out your vision for Connecticut.
Yeah.
Many people believe that. Are you left of Mom Donnie, just for the people who ask?
Am I left of Mom Donnie? I would say there's not much that Mom Donnie believes in that I don't believe in. I'll put it that way.
Okay. That's a dangerous statement.
I'm a scary guy. I'm here.
I'm sorry.
Here to scare people.
He's not doing very well.
What do you mean he's not doing well? Did you see this whole thing in terms of snow removal? It happened quicker than they've ever before, because he said we're going to just pay people to do work, and they did, and the snow was gone. I mean, it's just real simple.
Yes, but he made them.
Stuff.
He made people show up with 2 pieces of ID. By the way, where are you on the whole thing with the voter rolls?
That's crazy.
Come on, the voter rolls to the federal government. You think that the federal government is going to be nefarious with the people's information? You don't trust them?
Are you joking? Of course I don't trust them. Are you joking? Of course I don't trust them. I'm terrified.
Okay,
right
wait. So, wait. Hold on. What do you?
I'm messing with you, man. I'm sorry.
No, I know that. Listen, I know you don't trust this administration.
Yeah.
However, there are a lot of people in the state who believe that the elections here are kind of shiesty, of course. Wanda Pataki notwithstanding.
Sure.
you do want to see this new vote.
Oh, there's got to be definitely some protections put in place for the way that we do our absentee balloting system.
How about getting rid of it?
Well, no, don't get rid of it. Just make it better. I mean, it works. It works really well in a lot of places.
It can't work for everybody, though. Shouldn't it just work for people who are absent during the vote? Can it be? No. We can't make it for everybody. No, the elderly, maybe.
Here's why I disagree with you. We always talk about running government like it's a business. Now, what do businesses do? What are they really good at? They're good at getting new customers, keeping them happy. Why doesn't government do the same thing? We should be keeping people that vote happy. How do you keep them happy? Make it easy. That's it.
Yeah, but you can't make it easy by just, willy-nilly removing things like ID, right? We shouldn't. Making it easy, really? First of all, it's a vote. It is easy. You have an ID. Your ID matches who you are, and you vote.
You are going to prison. There are some protections in place. It's not like somebody can just take that out and do whatever they want. There are protections in place.
We have some places here in the state where you don't need an ID. You know that. We have some places where people show up with a credit card.
Yeah, you don't need an ID, but this is part of the law.
But no, what I'm saying is that that's part of the state law. We should have it where everybody has to present a voter ID, or at least a actual government
provisional
ID.
ballots, and if there's enough provisional ballots, then there's a whole process for that. I hear what you're saying. We want to make sure that the person who says that they are.
Well, because what I'm saying is remove all doubt. Right? Isn't that important?
If you are saying to me that we should have a system where everybody has easy identification and can provide that identification, I would agree with you. If we are saying that identification has to be specifically a driver's license, that's where I would disagree.
Okay, I would say have it be a state ID that in essence does. But here's another thing.
Like a voter ID.
Yeah. Sure. If people think that it's difficult for some people, like we black folks that can't get down to the DMV.
You're saying it, not me.
Oh, no. They know it's me saying it. It's my voice, Josh.
Okay.
But so when they say that the rest of us can't get down and go get us, why don't you guys, since you like spending money, just spend the money on making sure that we get our ID?
To be fair, buddy, everybody likes spending money. That's not a Democrat.
Well, I'm just saying. Let's just spend the money and make sure that they do.
It just depends on what you're spending money on.
And we have one voter ID for each person, and we make sure that they are a legitimate person who is on said ID.
All right.
I mean, we can spend $1.3 billion on illegals. We can spend it on IDs. And I'm sure we wouldn't even spend that much.
I mean, I certainly don't think it would be $1.3 billion. I think there's a way you could do this to make sure you could do it in a way that we would both agree.
Okay. Yeah. So you agree with voter ID?
Do I agree with ensuring that there is one person and one vote and that we have protections in place? That is what I agree with.
He's applauding. I'm applauding him.
You like that?
Yeah.
Did I evade that?
Yeah, you evaded it, but then you just came around and you kind of conceded in my way.
I've been
anyway.
doing this for 10 years. We agree on the basis that there should be no fraud in the system. I don't think there should be fraud. No one wants fraud.
Absolutely.
No one wants cheating.
Good. We don't. No, neither of us do.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Good.
Well, you guys have to stop fighting us. By the way, get on board with this J. Allen Jones thing. I need some help on this. J. Allen Jones is the guy that was killed in the correctional facility. I'll give you his name. In fact, I'll give it to Aiden and just look it up. We're trying to get William Tong to release the video of his murder inside the correctional facility.
I think some of that, and I just might know too much about this, but I think some of that is that when the video is released, it provides like too much information about the inside. That's like a security risk. But I'm not.
No,
sure.
that was William Tong's argument.
That's his argument.
Yeah, it's completely bogus.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be released after Thanksgiving.
Okay.
We're in March.
Okay.
But anyway.
Yeah.
Josh, Elliot, thank you so much. We appreciate you coming in, and we'll get you back. Mark Christopher's getting you home. He's in the BPS Lawyers Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
The Odyssey app lets you jump back to the moments you missed from WTIC News Talk 1080. Download the free Odyssey app, search WTIC News Talk 1080, and tap earlier today to get started.
Hey, we are back. Reese on the radio. We are almost out of here, and we've got traffic and weather coming up. So if you're on the phones, stand by. I promise I will get to you. I know you've been there for a while. I will grab you up real quick. Craig in the car says that being well, maybe I should get to his earlier comment. Does he have enough gum for the rest of the class? That being said, dialogue is positive. It was. Chris says, Reese, this criminal is talking to you like there's not a lone illegal alien in the state. I don't think he believes that. But he's on the left. I mean, that much I can tell you. He is on the left. He said he's already for forced vaccination. I thought that was wild. I wasn't expecting that. But he did make it clear he is not familiar with the bill, which blows my mind because he should. He actually is in the legislature. So 5044. I'm gonna quiz him on it when he gets a chance to see it. I know he's out campaigning and trying to, drum up some money. So I'm hoping he will at least learn about it so that I can ask him about it and what his take on it is. Spirited conversation. Again, this is what I try to tell all the Democrats in the state. You have no idea how interesting it will be to be in a conversation with me on the air and me giving you an hour. Hell, I'll give you an hour and a half like I did Josh. I want to have that dialogue, and I want to hear these people hear you have a dialogue. And a respectful one at the end of the day. Except for Chris Murphy. Just not. He is never going. I know there's some people who are saying, it's like, I thought you wanted him on your show. Not really. Not really. It's difficult for me to say out loud that, I don't like a person. I don't like him. I just don't. So I'm not interested in him. He's a liar and he's a worm. And, he could be on Brian's show all day. He can come over to Brian's show and lick his boots. Come over here and, kiss up to Brian all day. So he can be safe. He can be in his little safe zone. So if he gets a tough question, he could deflect. But he doesn't want to come here. Just doesn't. I don't blame him. Let's get a check of weather and traffic. Mark Christopher, he's back, baby. What's up, everybody? You know who it is.
You know who it is. You know who it is.
It's Reese on the radio. Frederick Douglass of the 21st century.
It's WTIC News Talk 1080.
All right, we are back and about to wrap it up today. I want to thank Gordon Chang for being a guest on the show. Josh Elliot for being a guest on this program. Thank you both for being here. It has been a blast. And thank all of you, some close to 700 of you who are watching the show online who have never seen this program before. I appreciate you coming here and enjoying the show. It means the world to me. And I know Gordon Chang brought most of that audience over here to listen to the show. So thank you for at least giving it a chance. If you come back, I appreciate you. I want to say this. I was talking to Josh Elliott earlier talking about, the whole housing bill and, giving participation trophies to people. And one of my faithful listeners turned around and said, that's the reason why, Reese, you forgot where you came from. I need to say this because the person who said it is obviously is black and has been poor in his life. And this is why I try to explain to again, this is sad, but it has to be reiterated. Okay. Formerly poor black people who live better, own their own home, put their children through school. In order to stay connected to the slums, they always say that line, you forgot where you came from. But I never see any of those Negroes going back to the hood. Once they brought their property, once they put their kids through school, no one ever moves back to the hood. No one does. Do they?
No, I was going to say.
Right.
Hell yeah, I forgot where I came from. I don't want to remember.
I don't want to remember, right? So that's the whole thing. So it's always that thing. It's like, you forgot where you came from. No, foolish. I remember vividly where I came from. Vividly. And the reason why I remember it vividly, like Robert De Niro says in Heat, I ain't going back. There's nothing to go back to. The reason why you are where you are, the reason why you work so hard to be where you are, to buy your house, to live in a community, is because you never want to go back there again. Yeah. Forget all that nonsense about you forgot where you came from. The reason why you're out is because you remember. If you forgot, you just stay there, living in bliss, because ignorance is bliss. So please knock it off with the whole tethering yourself to the hood. Go on back, sell your home, and get your ass right back down there. Hurry up. Hurry up and go back into the slums, huh? And go uplift your community. You see, you get to say the nonsense of, I ain't forgot where I came from, because it gives you a buffer. Because when you tell people you ain't forgot where you came from, you don't actually have to do the work. Saying that you remember where you came from is like changing your Facebook status to support something. I support Paris. I support Ukraine. That's what it is. It's a platitude. Put some skin in the game. Okay? If you really support the hood, go support the hood. Go put your life and limb out there for the hood. Give up the glamour of the suburbs. Get down there in that apartment building. You'll never go, so spare me that nonsense.
No thanks.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm good with
you
all.
Wouldn't.
In my neighborhood, it was a lot of roaches and rats.
Damn right, and nobody would return to that.
Yeah, and I don't want that.
Yeah, exactly. It's foolishness. These people bore me. Let's get to the phone so we can get up out of here. Matty-O is in the place. What's up, boss man?
Hello, Mr. Hopkins. How you doing?
Good to hear your voice. What's up, baby?
Well, I know you don't take callers during guests, but when she said what people have to lose by putting up low income housing or skyscrapers, apartment building, a non-subjective argument would be property values, mill rate, public, fire, police, schools.
Indeed.
What's going to happen to all that?
Quality of life.
Yes. I mean, I thought he was joking when he said it.
He doesn't look at it in that way, because he keeps looking at it as, you're discriminating against them because they're a lower class. But my argument is, yes, they are a lower class. Do you understand that, right? Like, he is just saying, like, that's supposed to be taboo to say. Do you know who you're talking to? I don't think it's taboo.
Even if they were all great people that obeyed all the rules and were clean and kind, it still is going to destroy property, because you can't double the amount of kids going to school and the amount of people. All the public resources would be stretched so thin. Never mind roads and everything else. If the community is not designed for that many people, you can't just plop them in there and expect it to work.
100% true, my friend. How you been otherwise? You okay?
I'm doing great. I was actually going to call you later this week and ask you something. So
okay, give me a holler. You got my number.
Yep.
All right, talk to you soon. Dan is in Manchester.
Hey,
what's up, Dan?
How you doing?
I'm good, sir.
Hey, we've got a few things. This guy sounds like he is another one of the liberals who hasn't been attacked that he doesn't like. He's talking about throwing money. Everything he talked about, he's throwing money at.
Yeah.
Whether it's the housing, whether it's the school choice, whether it's the DCF. And from what he sounds like, I don't think he's ever had a run-in with DCF. Because people that are homeschooling that are now going to have an open file, even though you've done nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Number one, that's like saying that you've got a file at the police station saying that you're a criminal, but you haven't done anything.
Yeah, you know what it is? What was the Tom Cruise, Steven Spielberg movie? The Minority Report. Right?
Yep.
There's a degree of that here that's sort of in line to it. But I don't think he understands, and I didn't really get into the weeds with him on that because I felt like we were going a little long. But as I said to Pastor Todd yesterday, a lot of this is really used as a deterrent, right? And as you just said, like, no parent wants a file on them with DCF. That's just as bad as having a police file.
Yeah, it's really bad. And I think the other thing is, like, he's talking about, he's got one of these thought processes, attitudes of, well, it's like people going into the low-income housing in the suburbs, it's not going to be a problem, it's that. Well, I can tell you, I worked at a condo complex for 6 years outside of Hartford. We had everybody come in who had, they're on Section 8, they're on SNAP, they're on all this other stuff. They don't pay anything. They don't care about anything.
That's right. Exactly. If they don't have any sweat equity in something, they treat it like entitled brats. It happens everywhere. In fact, it's a good example. Go into the project buildings where all of the Section 8 and all the Section 8 housing is, or New York City public housing. The reason why you can smell urine in the hallways and crack dealers on every floor is the reason for that is everything is subsidized. And nobody, if they had to spend their own money on it, they would treat it better.
Yeah, well, the funny thing is every morning I would go into work and literally fill up 3 to 4 garbage bags of trash off the road, off the lawns, in front of people's doors.
Wow.
And no one cared. And that was just the start of the day. Never mind all the junk that they threw outside their doors and around the houses and, mattresses just thrown out. And almost every single one of them, they're on state aid.
Yeah. And again, look, and that's the crazy part, Dan, is that, again, we have the examples that show that all you have to do is look at the inner city, right? It's there. It's right in front of your faces. And they want to, and in essence, what Josh does and many Democrats want to do is just take that and go, yeah, let's put that in the suburbs. And just like,
well, I think they believe in their hearts that when you move someone out of there, they're going to be so grateful they're in a better area, they're going to completely change.
Oh.
And it's the exact opposite.
Yeah.
There's no change in some aspects, because when you get to the property outside of Hartford where you have management companies and people there to take care of it, and people do take care of keeping the place nice, they get the thought process of, well, why would I do it? They're going to pick it up every day. Why would I care about this? They're going to take care of it every day.
That's right. It's 100%.
And never mind the pot smoking.
When
you have it's an old apartment property they converted to condos years ago, and it was a 3-story building. And I mean, you walk the hallways, and all you smell is pot, because with a negative ventilation system, it draws it out into the hallways and out of the building.
Yep.
And everywhere smells like marijuana.
Yeah, it bothers me because I have to smell it everywhere. Like I said, it's I don't even want to get into it. Thank you, Dan. I appreciate you, buddy.
Thanks, man.
You got it. Lynn is in West Suffield. Hello, Lynn.
Hi, Reese. I don't even know where to start with this guy. I really, really don't.
I gave you an hour and a half full, so yes, I totally understand. Your cup runneth over.
But if you ever have him back on, you really need to take phone calls, because I wanted to ask him if he'd wanted to move to Hudson Street in Hartford. There's a beautiful apartment there. I lived there for 3 years. And see if he'd be willing to go. I'll give him a tour of it, too. He can rent an apartment there, all right? And the other thing was El Grasso built beautiful condos right off of Main Street, right near Colts Park in Hartford, for Section 8. And within a year, they were trashed.
Wow.
Every one of them was trashed, just like what the guy said before you.
Yeah.
They were just junk. And did he say anything about all the illegal migrants in Connecticut?
No, he didn't. But usually those would be the folks that would be moving to those communities. And, again, I think what he was trying to do was debate me into saying that these people were undesirable. But I think he got the point. They are undesirable. And he thought like for some odd reason I was going to be ashamed to say that. I'm not ashamed to say that. They're undesirable. Why are they undesirable? Because desirable people would earn the right to be there.
Exactly. And what he needs to know is we need jobs. There's no way. I really hope you could get Betsy McCoy on, who's running.
I've had her on whenever she'd like. Well, I don't want to oversaturate, but I have had her on, and in fact, wasn't she on Friday, Roland? Yeah, she was on Friday. She called in because she was talking about her tax plan. But I try to get her on as often as possible. The same with Fazio and Aaron Stewart. So whenever they're available, they're free reign to come here. I wish their opponents, Lamont, would come on. Josh has already been here. I would love to have Lamont on.
Lamont would never come on. Connecticut's
yes, I know.
$90 billion in total debt. Do you know that?
Yes, well aware.
There's $90 billion in total debt. Lamont opened a business in Tennessee.
And you know what?
Connecticut?
It's so funny because the argument is that his wife didn't move the company in Connecticut because of high taxes. However, the taxes in Tennessee were lower. That's the argument that's made online.
Well, he makes the taxes in Connecticut, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, it sounds like you're trying to be like double-fisted nonsense in all of this. Like we're not supposed to realize that.
And I also wanted to talk about the DCF workers. Okay, most of them are now working from home. Like I said, I grew up in Hartford. Most of my friends were on welfare. The DCF needs to go to these homes where these children are.
That's right.
Between 6 and 9 o'clock p.m.
That's right.
Without calling ahead of time, Reese.
That's right.
No forward calls, and find out actually what's going on in these homes.
That's right. Like
I can tell you right now, most of these moms, and I know this for a fact, have their boyfriends working all day, and they come home between 6 o'clock when all the state workers are rushing home to their suburbs because they're scared to death to be there. And you can't imagine you can imagine after what
I know
what's going on in those homes.
Yeah, you know what? Remember the days, Lynn, you'll remember this. Back in the days, the welfare system used to have the face-to-face, like in the movie Claudine, where the agent would come to the home.
Yes, but they would call them ahead of time and tell them they were coming.
Yeah.
So they would clean up the house. They'd get rid of all their boyfriend's clothes and, everything looked nice. You know what I'm saying? I'm not stupid. Come
Lynn,
on.
you know it better than anybody. Absolutely.
Exactly. People used to say, why do they have all these beautiful cars parked on the side streets and we were riding around in junks? Well, their boyfriends are working all day and you fools are paying for it with your taxes.
Damn right. Thank you, Lynn. As always, it's a pleasure.
Okay.
You got it. Have a good one. Oh, can I get Gary real quick? Gary, real fast. Can you jump in here?
Yes, I could. This time it's not my fault. I was waiting online.
Well, I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry. You got.
I want to ask you something quick. I want to make a point of what somebody said. I'll give you an example. What time is the meeting tomorrow at Agape?
8:30.
The AA meeting?
Yeah, 8:30.
Okay, all right. So I want to give you an example. I was going to comment on the Democratic guest that you had, but you know who Chris Poulos is?
No, doesn't ring a bell.
He's the state rep from Southington. When he was running around town, and I would run into him at the two coffee houses, and he was presenting himself as saying the same exact things that your guest was saying.
Really?
Like, oh, yeah, I'm in the middle. And soon as and I used to call him on it. I mean, I would talk to him as
soon as he gets in office, he goes far left. Gary, I got to leave it there, man, but thank you so much. I'll see you tomorrow.
All right.
Let me get up out of here. As I always say, folks, radio is free, so we thank you for paying attention. Remember to keep JC in your hearts and in your mind. Sean Patrick, we love you and we miss you. Remember that panic is not planning, so plan your work and work your plan. I'm Reese on the radio. You have a good night. Pleasant tomorrow. We'll see you back here at 2 p.m. Mark Christopher, he's getting you home. Is it still snowing? It was earlier.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it. It looks like it's either changed over to rain or maybe some mixed precip. It doesn't look like anything is sticking on the road.
And it's supposed to be 50 tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll take it. And I guess maybe some 60s next week, maybe Tuesday.
Oh.